Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
How are you doing?
You've just been camping, right? You just got back?
I just got back yesterday.
You look a little campy, like your hair.
Is my hair a little? Oh my
It's a
goodness.
little
What's going
campy hair.
on?
I like it. That's great. Somebody's feet were in the picture a minute ago.
Oh
Hi.
yeah.
Hi. Have you got campy hair too?
I think this is just my everyday messy hair.
How was it? How was the camping?
It was lovely. It was really, really lovely. Yeah, so we always go up to Killbear,
Yep, I know it. Yep.
and it was nice because the last 3 or 4 years since working with Yes, my summers have just been completely swamped, and I've only been able to go up for a day or two. Um,
Right.
on a dark day. And so now that I've got all the time in the world, I was able to go the whole time. So there's some benefits, right?
That's nice. I love it. I love camping myself. I love it. So that's great.
Where do you go?
Well, it's been all kinds of different places, but over my lifetime. But my husband, Mike, hates camping.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, he hates it. He wants to camp in a hotel. So that means there's been
That's a particular kind of camping.
yeah, there's a lot less of that going on in our life at the moment.
Fair, fair, fair.
But
But
that's
you've
fine.
got lovely property out in
Yeah,
Newfoundland. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
yeah.
So you're not wanting for nature, that's for
No,
sure.
that's right. And like I hike every day here. There's
Yeah,
the hiking trails within a spit of this house in every direction. It's so great.
that's lovely. That's
Yeah,
absolutely lovely.
yeah,
Yeah, the photos I see on like Facebook are just really, really
yeah.
lovely.
It was a big pull to come out here for all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So this is exciting.
Yeah. I was just sort of like there's a couple folks in the waiting room already, but I'm sort of seeing if Bo maybe could
Yeah,
be offered to come a little bit early, like in case he wants to just you know
yes.
run
To
through.
go over anything. You probably saw, did you get copied into those questions that Kyle was asking last night?
Oh, I don't know that I did. Was it
Okay.
on the Facebook thread? I just sort of must have missed it.
It's okay. It got answered because Bo was available. Basically, he just wanted, but Bo will probably address some of those questions just with the whole group, I think,
Perfect.
which is
That's great.
great, which is really great, just to make sure everybody feels comfortable and is on the same page and
Good, good, good,
kind of
good.
knows
Yeah,
his
that's
intention.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just actors are in the waiting room. Bo hasn't shown up yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just give him a few more minutes and
Yeah, that's sure. That
that's
sounds
all
good. Sounds great.
good. And yeah, I wonder if anybody is tuned in on YouTube yet.
I'm going to do the same thing today and go and leave the Zoom room after the intros and
Yeah,
go and watch it.
you prefer that.
I do for two reasons. One, because I feel like whatever small portion of the Zoom energy my, you know, presence takes up, I'd rather not do that. You know what I mean? And then
Fair.
it's a better watching experience on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. Why do you find that?
It's tidier.
Huh.
The image, the way the image is controlled on the screen. Have you done it? Have you watched it on any of these on YouTube?
I haven't watched anything live yet. I've just sort of like gone back over when I've sort of looked back at some of our old videos.
Okay. Well,
But
that'll probably give you the same effect. I just find
yeah,
it's just tighter.
cool.
And there doesn't seem to be the same lag. It's almost like when it's being recorded, some of the lag stuff doesn't necessarily get recorded. So I don't know. I, but I like it. So,
Awesome.
and then I'll come back at the end, please. So don't forget me.
Yeah, 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 of course, of course. I think I caught you the last time, so
You
that's all
did. You
right.
absolutely did. Yeah.
Good.
Hmm.
Just gonna make sure I have our list of actors, so that's not
Oh
missing.
yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah, I've got it, so I can take just kind of keep tabs
Take
on.
attendance. Yeah, because I don't have the list actually. Now that I think of it.
No worries, I've got it. I've got it
Good.
here.
Awesome.
All right. Let's see. gonna be weird for the next 2 weeks. I'm not gonna be
I
here.
know. I know. Now, maybe we'll have a chance to. When do you go? When do you leave?
I leave on Monday.
Monday. Maybe if we could chat tomorrow about, we've got the 22nd covered with Andrea, but we don't have the 29th covered. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking that I might not be able to be involved either. The
Oh
29th,
wow.
yeah, so we maybe, that's another case of just, skipping a Saturday.
Right.
But I'll see what the plans are, whether I might be in transit, I might be driving that day. So,
Like I mean the only other one that I might think is like if somebody like Maher or Ruthie were interested, like having done it
yep,
a while ago, like knowing the drill, like if they felt confident to do it like without us,
sure, sure.
somebody who's like done it before might be doable.
Absolutely. Just throw it out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll talk with maybe the two of them and see if they have anything in mind, or if they'd like to do anything.
Well, we don't really have like a lineup of plays in the waiting room at the moment. Like
Right.
it's so
Yeah.
I feel like we need to get out there and
Oh,
invite again.
what are you? You are a big guy.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
Get out of here.
Uh-oh.
There's like some kind of crazy wasp. Oh my god.
Come here.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like go to the light. Where'd it go? There we go. No.
Shit.
This is fascinating entertainment.
Wonder if we should let people in.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna let him in.
Hey.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Well,
Fantastic. You good? We're good? No more? Okay, awesome. Jeez, that was terrifying.
Uh,
Hey everybody,
hey.
Hello.
how goes?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
I moved a week, 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning. How did your move go?
Oh yeah. Pretty well. Other than the fact that this bed couldn't fit in the room and we had to pull it all apart and then rebuild it back in the room.
Oh,
Oh, that's a hassle.
It was good. It was fine. That's the only time that I wanted to give up.
It's like, forget this. I don't need to move.
I
I'll
was
just
so
stay
close.
where
I was so close to like leaving it on Parliament and just
I'll sleep on the floor.
yeah.
Damn. Hey, Bo, how's it going?
Hey guys,
hey, Bo.
I believe we've got everybody here. I'm just doing a quick double check. Yes, we are. Yeah, we're good to go. So yeah, we'll just start with just the introductions, a little bit of like mic and camera etiquette, and then I will hand it off to Bo, our facilitator. So first of all, thank you everybody for reading today with us, and thank you so much to Bo for both facilitating and for offering his 2 plays, Once a Flame and From Here to Africville. It's like really exciting when we get to do original work, and so we're super excited both. Thank you so much. Yeah, just briefly, if you go up to the top of your screen and click on where it's, if it says a speaker view, you're good. And if it says gallery view, just click on that. And if there's anybody who doesn't have their camera on, I guess everybody has their camera on, just hover over somebody's screen and you can click on in that drop down menu, the little 3 dots brings up a drop down menu. You can hit hide non-video participants, and anybody who turns their camera off at any given point will just be hidden from view. It just cleans up the screen a little bit for you. So we encourage everybody to have their microphones and cameras off if you're not in the scene. When you do make an entrance, turn your camera and your microphone on at that time. Yeah, so that's about it for mic and camera etiquette. Awesome. I'm just going to go now through our lovely cast and introduce everybody. So when I call out your name, just let us know who you are, who you're playing today, and also where you're calling in from. So let's start with Jillian.
Everyone, my name's Jillian Robinson. You can call me Jill. Fits all my little parts that I have going on today too. I'll be reading stage directions today, also Town Crier and Nicholas Block in Once a Flame. And then just a quick note about stage directions. I'm going to be reading the blocked stage directions and anything that's like action specific. Anything else that's sort of like can be actor interpretive, like silently, quietly, what have you. Feel free to just take that on as yourselves. And then there's also any circumstances that you would rather just plow through and like skip a direction, by all means take the reins and I'll just follow you folks with that.
Ooh, lovely. Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Neard. I'm calling in from Kitchener, Ontario. Ow. And I'm playing Marie-Joseph Angelique.
Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm calling in from Toronto, and I'm reading for Pierre Wemble.
Lovely. Danish.
Hi, I'm Danish. I'm calling in from London, Ontario, and I'm going to be reading for Thibault.
Kyle.
Hi, sorry. Hi, I'm Kyle, calling in from beautiful, balmy Toronto, and I am going to be reading Tim Langton in From Here to Africville.
Fantastic. Dita.
Hi, I'm Dita. I'm going to be reading for Dewey Dixon From Here to Africville, and I'm calling in from Sudbury, Ontario.
Barry.
Hi guys, I'm Barry. I'm calling in from Toronto, and I'm reading for the part of the Reverend in From Here to Africville.
Ruthie.
Hi, I'm Ruthie. I'm calling in from Sudbury, Ontario, and I'm going to be reading for Eva Hattie in From Here to Africa.
Lovely. My name is Stefan. I'll be playing de Francheville in Once a Flame, and I'm calling in from Toronto. And with that, I would like to pass it over to Bo, our facilitator. I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, guys. It's so wonderful to be here, and this is really exciting. There was a posting that my plays are new originals. Yes, they are originals, but I wouldn't consider them new because these are actually the first two plays that I have ever written. So I wrote them 2006 and 2007, I think. So this is exciting for me, but also I'm extremely nervous because it's been a long time since I've heard them. And so I'll just preface, which one are we doing first?
Once a Flame.
Great, so Once a Flame. I'll just give you guys a bit of a backstory, a very quick backstory to it. But I'll start by saying these two plays were specifically written for young audiences. So these plays I wrote and toured them to public schools and secondary schools throughout Ontario and Quebec. Actually, Once a Flame was translated in French. And these toured for a few years. And so when approaching it, I would like to honor the script as, it can speak for itself. And so I don't think you need to over embellish or heighten it because it's a TYA. I just wanted to inform you actors of, who it's directed towards. So at times, if I put on my dramaturge hat, there's moments where it's like, ooh, this might be a bit didactic or derivative, but it was designed so the youth can it drives home the message. Once a Flame in particular, I played with a dub poet. I played bass with a dub poet named Afua Cooper. She was also a Black historian for Dalhousie and University of Toronto. And she wrote a book called The Hanging of Angelique. Now, what's special about this story is, and why I, as a playwright, was drawn to her story is she was executed for burning down 1/10 of Montreal, but to this day, we still don't know whether she did it or not. I took artistic license and I sort of put, my take on what happened. Afua Cooper wrote a book, The Hanging of Angelique, and with her guidance, I did research on the transcripts of the court case. And by Marie-Joseph being accused of arson, this is the first proof of Canadian slavery in the 1800s. So, meaning that slaves did not have, they were not given a birth name. They had no birth certificate. They were treated like cattle. So it wasn't until Marie-Joseph had to stand in front of a court of law, they were forced to treat her like a human. And there's something to be said for that. And I won't get into it. It's kind of, I'll let you guys explore that. But I wanted to leave it at that. And, when you guys leave here today, if you check out the book, The Hanging of Angelique, it's a fascinating read. And it's very insightful as far as Marie-Joseph and her background. I'll leave it at that, and then I'll talk about From Here to Africville when we get to it. Is there any other questions, concerns? Wonderful. Best of luck and see you at the other end.
Thank you so much, Bo. Alrighty. I will pass it over to Jillian.
Okay. Once a Flame by Bo Dixon. Scene 1. April 10th, 1734. Montreal. It is early evening. There is the sound of vendors and locals chatting on the streets. A black girl enters wearing a shawl and tattered clothes. Her name is Marie-Joseph Angelique. She paces nervously in front of a house. Angelique turns her head towards one end of the street to the other. She then looks up towards the roof of the house. She is startled.
Fire! Fire! Someone help! Au secours! Please, there's fire!
She runs from one side of the street to the other while sometimes glancing up. She begins to pace while picking up more frantic speed.
Someone please help me! With water! Madame César! Sur Radisson Fine! Madame Francheville! Her house is burning! Please, someone help me! Help me with water! I need to put it out! Sur Radisson! More water! The fire is spreading!
She throws water out of a bucket while dipping to refill. She suddenly looks off stage left.
Where are you going, Monsieur Sur Radisson?
Parish church bells ring. The sound of soldiers beating their drums and police whistles blowing become more prominent. Angelique puts down the bucket and runs off. Town crier enters. He's walking the streets of Montreal on the night of the fire, the sound of flames in the background. Oh yay, hear ye. On this 10th day of April, 1734, the city of Montreal, New France, declares that the negress of Madame Francheville, known as Marie-Joseph Angelique, is guilty of arson. She is wanted for questioning by the king's officials. Oh yay, hear ye. On this 10th day of April, 1734, the city of Montreal. He exits. Scene 2. Pierre Rimbaud enters. He is the crown attorney interrogating Angelique. She is worn out, but still stoic in her presence. Rimbaud recites the testimony.
The year 1734, the afternoon of the 12th of April. Oui, Pierre Rimbaud, conseiller par excellence du roi, official of the king, un parvenu, lieutenant general for civil and criminal matters, notary, lieutenant of police, and noble et privilégié, and judge for the royal jurisdiction of Montreal, after having carefully examined the evidence against the accused Marie-Joseph Angelique, I have found that she is sufficiently guilty and convicted of having started the fire at the widow Francheville's home and for the destruction of part of this city. For punishment, I judge that she be condemned to make honorable amends and to have her hand cut off, that she be hung by the neck, and that she be thrown alive into the fire at a place in which this town deems most appropriate, after having been subjected to la question ordinaire et extraordinaire, in order that she name her accomplices. Let it be written, I hereby find the accused, Marie-Joseph Angelique, guilty of arson.
Let's down the scribe in circles, Angelique.
Tell us your name, age, origin, status, and place of residence.
Angelique is silent. She stares straight ahead without blinking. Rainbow is pacing. He circles her once again, then stops.
Tell us your name, age, origin, status, and place of residence.
She looks at Rainbow, pauses, then she looks straight out to the audience.
I was called Marie-Joseph Angelique.
You were called?
I am already dead.
That is not your real name.
That is the name you white people gave me. My real name is not from here. My real name is of an African tongue given to me by my mother.
Is that where you were born? Africa?
I was born in Portugal. Merchants stole my family from Africa and sent them to the mines of Portugal to dig for gold and harvest sugar.
Who is your master?
My master is God.
What is your place of residence?
The Church of God.
Where do you live?
God's house.
Who is your master?
My master lies within me.
Do you know why you are here, Angelique?
She is silent.
You have been accused of arson, setting fire to the late Monsieur Francheville's home. That is arson, Marie-Joseph. But you already know that, don't you? For it was not only 3 months ago that you were caught fleeing slavery, having used arson as a distraction for your escape. Diversion. Having failed, you were returned. Then you proceeded to burn down the widow Francheville's home, and along with it, 1/10 of Montreal, including this city's most beloved hospital, Hôtel Dieu. The penalty for arson, Angelique, is torture.
I was called Marie-Joseph Angelique. I am 29 years old. I was born in Portugal. I am a slave of the widow de Francheville. Whatever she bade me to do, I did. Until the fire. No one told me to set the fire. No one helped me because I did not set the fire.
I do not know if you are incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Whichever way you look at it, you are guilty. You have been caught once before for trying to escape slavery. Now you must answer for the crime of arson. You have caused our city great turmoil and suffering. You must formally apologize and confess to the Superior Council in Quebec, and then have your hand cut off, and then be hung by the throat, and then be burned alive until dead. With or without your confession, you will burn, for you are guilty. Now, I suggest you explain yourself immediately, or this interrogation will proceed with physical force. So let us start from the beginning, shall we? Where are you from?
Scene 3.
Where am I from? Where I'm from is Portugal, my only true home. I was born a slave on the silent shores of the Atlantic, the Black Atlantic. My mother, she was beautiful. Even in her last days on this earth, she could light the dying stars and guide me through the dark with her gentle melodies. Oh, my child, child of God, brought to me from high above, may you sleep, may you dream, my only child, my only night. I bid good night, I bid good night. And then a Dutch slave owner took me pried me away from my village and sold me to a big old pig of a man named Nekes Block. Nekes was a Flemish merchant living in Portugal and making money off human flesh. My ancestors, my family, my people, my flesh.
A man enters. He is large and shifty, possibly intoxicated. I have seen countries battling countries all over the Atlantic coast, fighting and hunting and killing for sugar, animal fur, and even spices.
This was my master, Nekes Block.
And we all end up here. Europe's gift to mankind, Portugal.
Nekes would always bore me with his talk about traveling Europe and seeing it all.
You know what brings us back here, my black diamond?
Gold.
Gold, my beautiful Negress slave. That is what the world wants. 1 million people in Portugal, the richest country in the world. Why? Because of gold and slaves. From slaves comes money. Without the slaves, you cannot find the gold. Without gold, you cannot earn power over man. Do you see what I'm saying, Negress woman? Of course you do. You are weak in the mind, you see. Oh, if it was not for your soft lips, I would have sold you to the first Spaniard who sailed through these parts long ago.
But he had plans for me, did Nekes Block.
She begins to bend down to scrub the deck of a boat. They are on a boat somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Block is navigating. I'm afraid I have too many slaves and not enough gold. No. Where am I going? I have no need for a slow negress such as yourself. I'm taking you to the western shores of the Atlantic and sell you to an ambitious man who has many plans for you, and quite a bit of money. I shall do years of business with him, so, before we dock in New France, make sure to wash your face and pull back your hair. Don't forget to smile, damn it. Smile. Scene 4.
New France, Montreal. I arrived in 1725. I was 20 years old. The air had become colder. I never knew air could be so cold. The land was thick, trees with no leaves, like skeletons. They spilled over the harbor. This was my new home, the new world, Le Canada. The filthy harbor stank of dead animals. Nekes Block wanted me all cleaned up for this place. It was dirtier than he was. As I got off the boat, I retched from the stench and dust, but my new master, he was a man, a clean, gentle man, a gentle man.
Bonjour. Excuse. Demoiselle? Negress woman!
Yes.
You are my servant? I am François Poulain de Francheville. You will be serving my wife, Madame Thérèse Cognac de Francheville.
Yes, sir.
Oui, monsieur.
Sir?
Monsieur. Oui, monsieur.
Monsieur?
No. I am monsieur. You will call me monsieur and my wife madame when addressing us in the home. At social gatherings, you will call us by our full names.
Sieur de Francheville was a rich fur merchant. It was winter, a busy time for a fur trader. Montreal was the fur trade. Anyone with money or power would pass through Montreal. Sieur de Francheville was always busy. All those numbers, he was constantly checking his account books, settling payments, receiving payments, money coming in, money coming out, numbers. You see, Monsieur Francheville was known throughout Canada as being a great voyager and wealthy merchant with a generous heart. He would lend money to other merchants and help with fur expeditions amongst the battlegrounds of the Sioux natives.
I have a farm in Saint Michel. There, you will do most of the planting of our vegetables, tend to the livestock, and care for Madame's garden. I have a property in Upper Town, Montreal, and the Saint Maurice Estates in the Trois-Rivières district, which you will be upkeeping when we are in residence.
Sieur de Francheville and his wife lived in a 2-story stone house on Rue Saint Paul. I worked and slept there. The harder he worked, the harder I worked. The more fur that left, the more fur that came back. There was only 3 servants on hand, 2 pennies, Indian slaves, and me, an African slave. I would unload, sort, and pack the furs, run errands, and prepare meals for visitors. I would get dizzy from all the people that came and went from that house, most of them coming from the edges of the world to see Sieur de Francheville's home.
Rainbow enters. Scene 5.
And Madame de Francheville.
She was a witch.
A witch? Explain.
Always watching me. She slapped me in front of the other slaves, never allowing me to sit with vendors or soldiers in the square. Never did she treat me like I was a person. I would sing in church. Later, she would curse me. She was wicked.
Sounds like you were angry. Sounds like reasonable cause to burn down her home.
It was my master's home, Monsieur de Francheville. I would never want to destroy his home.
But destroy Madame?
Monsieur was different. He made me a promise.
Was Madame de Francheville jealous?
Jealous?
Hostile. Thought of you as a rival.
Oh, yes. She was hostile.
Did she assault you?
Assaults?
Did she hit you? Strike you?
Yes. I have told you I did not get bruises from kisses.
Why would Madame de Francheville strike you so often?
I would stand up to her, look her in the eyes. You don't need to tell me what my duties are. I have been doing them for too long and I get nothing in return. I sleep on a cold floor and wear rags you call a nightdress. I am working hard, old woman. I have been working hard my whole life and I've never seen somebody as lazy as you.
Angelique reacts as if suddenly struck. She resumes her poise as if awakened from a trance by Rainbow's voice.
Quite hostile indeed. Was she jealous of your relations with her husband?
Monsieur de Francheville was my friend.
Your friend? Oh, come now. Monsieur Francheville, friends with a negress slave woman such as yourself.
You have no idea who I am.
Monsieur de Francheville knew what it meant to have social order. We all know that whites have authority over blacks and red heathens. Europe and the New World depend on slavery for the sake of economy. You belong to Sieur de Francheville and his wife. Whether man or woman, they have authority over their slaves. Whites rule blacks. Tell me, Marie, why would I need to know any more about who you are? You are black. You are a slave. What else is there for me to know? Well then, tell us what happened next.
Scene 6. Francois, he leans in towards Angelique. Angelique is staring out into the distance. Francois is wondering what she's looking at. He finally calls her.
Marie-Joseph? Marie-Joseph.
Yes, oui, monsieur. Excuse me,
Have I caught you daydreaming?
I am afraid so, sir. I am sorry.
Quite all right.
Forgive me.
Enough. Everyone should have a moment to daydream. So, what were you daydreaming about?
Pardon?
Your dream. What was it about?
Oh, monsieur,
Come now.
Oh, monsieur.
Do you think I will laugh?
No.
Do you think... You are frightened of my wife. You think I will tell her and that she will...
I am frightened of no one.
I believe you. And I will give you a promise.
A promise?
Yes. promise. You tell me what you were daydreaming about, and I will tell you a secret. A secret that very few people know about. So, tell me where your thoughts wander.
She walks over to the table. On it is very little, possibly a few books and some writing tools such as an inkwell and feather.
This candle.
Yes? You light it every evening so I can write in my journal.
It burns so gently, no matter how cold or restless the wind.
I've often wondered that myself. Quite peaceful.
I prepare your room, your study. I dust the shelves, give one last sweep, warm the ink, and then
Light this candle.
I prepare Madame for her quilting at the Hotel Dieu while other servants retire to their quarters, but I'm left in this room.
You are our servant. This is your duty. However, if you should wish to be assigned to another room,
No, please, monsieur. I mean, I love this moment. It is all I have to call my own. Setting your table, sweeping your room, and lighting this candle. One day I wish to have a room like this. A room I can call my own. Just one room.
And this is what you were daydreaming about? There's no need to be ashamed. You know, I was born into wealth. My father was wealthy, his father, my mother, and her mother, and so on. Yet, I have traveled this world, and I have seen many forms of wealth. Kings, queens, emperors, generals wearing so many medals the glare would blind you. But would you believe when I tell you, the most wealthy people I have met along many of my journeys had less money than I. Hunters who have fought black bears with their bare hands and survived. Sailors who have navigated through catastrophic storms and survived to tell their tale. It was the treasure buried within that I longed for. Now it's my turn. Now for my secret. When you came to us, have you ever wondered why I gave you your name?
It is nice.
Nice?
It is soft.
Do you know what it means?
An angel?
Oui. An angel. Marie, I will tell you this. You must promise me that you will never repeat it.
Oh, yes, monsieur. I mean, no, never.
A year after we were married, Madame had a child. We named her Marie Joseph Angelique. She died a month after she was born. Madame swore that she would never have another child. I insisted, but 9 years later, you came into our lives. So I had you baptized, and ever since I have called you by your Christian name.
Marie Joseph Angelique.
I'm leaving for an expedition next month, Angelique. I trust that you will be on your best behavior.
You are leaving?
Yes.
Well, for how long shall you be gone, sir?
6 months, longer or shorter, depending on the weather.
Do not leave me here, monsieur.
I beg your pardon.
Please let me come. Do not leave me here with her. Sorry, sir. I should not talk in that tone.
Think nothing of it, Marie. Look, where I am going is no place for a woman.
A woman?
A servant, a negress. I have 2 male servants and a scout. It is enough. We have no need for a negress such as yourself. Look, this is my job. I am a traveler, a voyager, a businessman. I'll be all right.
But it will be winter, monsieur. You may drown in the heavy waters or fall off a cliff or be captured by savages.
Don't you worry your head about me.
He begins to walk away, then stops and turns.
I am starting the St. Maurice Ironworks business with a gentleman by the name of Ignac Gamelin Jr. He has a slave that I'd like you to meet. His name is Jacques César.
César enters. He is a strong figure, well-groomed and stoic in his presence. He does not move while Francheville speaks.
He is a black slave from Madagascar. Jacques has been Gamelin's coachman. I am trusting that you will enjoy his company. Someone of your own kind. This is very important to me, Marie. You will do me this favor, and I promise someday you will be free from bondage. Who knows? Perhaps someday you will even get married. Have children to call your own.
Francheville becomes a shadowy figure as Angelique prepares a meal for César. Once Francheville is exited, César advances towards a table. He appears tired and spent. César removes his jacket ever so slowly. As he sits down, Angelique serves him a plate of food. She stands opposite him while he stares at her. Angelique senses César and his dark eyes staring at her while she serves him. Angelique sits across from César. There's an uncomfortable silence while he eats. Angelique is emotionless. She does not eat. César looks up from his plate from time to time, reminding himself of Angelique's presence. He breaks from his meal while staring at Angelique for an even longer time. He abruptly rises and advances towards her. Angelique becomes defensive. She backs away from the table with all eyes on César. He lunges towards her. They interact like they have been in this situation before, like some tribal mating ritual. César becomes aggressive with her physically, and Angelique can only resist for so long. César tears a piece of her clothing and holds her passionately for a moment. She surrenders his grasp. For a moment, there is a peace between the two figures on stage, as if it was foreplay all along. Angelique cries, and César releases her from his arms and grabs the remains of his clothes and exits. César walks towards Francheville. They stand beside one another in silence. It appears that Francheville has watched from afar, possibly unnoticed.
I met Jacques César. We had a child. A year later, Sieur de Francheville became ill and died.
November 1733, to be exact. He was 41 years old. Yes, he died a very rich man. And what did you name the child?
Eustache.
And where is the child now? Where is the child now?
He died 1 month after he was born.
January 1731. 3 years ago. Tell us what happened May of 1732. May I remind you, Marie-Joseph Angélique, that you are under oath? If you refuse to cooperate, we can proceed with a more strict interrogation. Physical? Perhaps the chair of repentance? What happened May of 1732?
I had twins, Louise and Marie-Françoise.
And where are they now?
Dead! It was no use. They're in a better place, no? They were of my body, but they were never mine. They were yours. The white woman would feed them. White women would nurture them and name them Lily White or Dominique. But once they were old enough to hold a hammer, once they were old enough to hold a ladder, they were the white man's property, born to serve the white man. I'm glad they died. No one should suffer like this. No one should live like this. No one.
So, Jacques César was declared their father.
Yes.
Jacques César, the black slave from Madagascar?
Are you deaf? Yes.
And where can I find this Jacques César?
He's gone. Sent to the West Indies.
Before he died, I'm sure Monsieur de Francheville must have been very disappointed with the outcome of your relationship with Jacques César. Yes?
This has nothing to do with me setting the fire.
It has everything to do with you setting the fire. Monsieur de Francheville was becoming a very wealthy man, and with his new venture into the iron ore business, with that wealth came responsibility. Monsieur needed more workers for his estate and his farm in Saint-Michel. He was counting on you to produce more laborers. Once your children were old enough, they would become farmhands or errand boys. But it was a poor investment, was it not? All he ended up with was a negress slave full of impotence.
I worked hard. I would cook, clean, serve, wash.
It is the law. It is your duty.
Law? Duty. It is my duty to sleep on a cold floor, tucked in the corner of a kitchen? It is my duty to be silent when struck by a cold hand that causes my face to bleed. Is it the law to be beaten if a bed isn't properly made? Is it the law to be told when to eat, sleep, or breathe?
Yes! I would count you as more fortunate than others. But when Sieur de Francheville died, you were not so happy with the treatment you received from Madame Francheville, so you would lash out at her, correct?
Not once did I raise my hand.
Bill calms himself down while backing off bench. He doesn't continue to speak.
You had another man in your life. Oui? A white man?
Angelique is silent as she turns her head away from Rainbow. Scene 7. A man appears. He's trying to sneak up on her. Maria notices him. She does not react or acknowledge his presence. He leans in from behind her and whispers,
Are you alone?
I was.
Have you been waiting long?
Who says I have been waiting?
Come now, darling. You need not be feisty with me.
Feisty? What is feisty?
You are feisty. Now come here.
Oh, Claude. Why must you make me wait so long?
I'm sorry, Marie. I've been working on those shelves and cabinets for days. There's no telling what chores your Madame Cognac has for me to do at the last minute.
She still goes by Francheville.
Yeah, not around me, she doesn't. Oh, Claude, please, you must call me Madame Cognac. My husband is no longer. Since the absence of a man, I have become less of a woman. I must accept my role as a widow. Call me Madame Cognac.
Oh, well, I think she likes you.
I know she likes me. Listen, I was talking to Marie-Louise Poirier. She told me that Madame Francheville is going to get rid of you.
Get rid of me?
You've been sold to Françoise Etienne Cognier.
Sold?
Sold for 600 pounds of gunpowder.
The deal has already been made? Oh, I don't know what is more dangerous right now, me or the gunpowder. I feel like I will explode. I hate her. I hate all of you whites.
Once the ice breaks, you are to be sent to Quebec, where he will send you to the Caribbean to work on a plantation.
A slave colony? That is worse than being chained here. Claude, no. This is not what Sieur de Francheville promised me. He said that I would be released.
Calm down.
He promised me.
I have an idea.
I must do something.
You must listen to me, and remember to share it with no one. In 2 weeks' time, we are to be sent to Madame's brother-in-law's home.
At Sieur Alexis Monier's?
Once we are settled, we will set fire to one of the servants' beds.
A fire?
Nothing too large. Just a distraction.
A distraction?
A decoy. Then we can set out for the riverbanks.
Claude, there is a wall surrounding this city.
There are gate entrances, 5 of them.
How will we pass the military?
We will walk out. I know some of the soldiers working the gates. I will tell them I am transporting you to one of the trading posts. They will never suspect a white man and a black woman traveling together.
And there will be harm to no one.
No one.
All right. Together we will go.
Good. Now, tomorrow I will mark a trail for our journey. On my last voyage fur trapping, I spotted a barn across the river in Longueuil. I shall hide loaves of bread there so we will not starve on our path. We shall cross the St. Lawrence River and head south to Lake Champlain. From there, we will reach a port in Maine or New York where we can board a ship for Portugal.
How far is Lake Champlain?
60 miles.
60 miles to our first destination. We'll never make it without freezing to death.
We will make it. Hey, listen, my contract is almost up. That means I will be sent to another home as a servant. I do not want to live like a peasant, a slave. This is no way for man to live. This is no way for us to live. I want to start over just as much as you do. I want to make it to Europe. Now, I'm going whether you want to come with me or not. But I want to do this together. I want you with me.
Scene 8.
So you tried to escape. It was sometime at the end of the month of February in 1734? Yes. A fire broke out at the residence of Alexis Monnier.
Some of the other servants put out the fire before it spread.
And so you ran.
And so we ran, like wolves.
Like slaves.
Like wolves. Hungry wolves. I did not ever want to be chained. I will not be chained. You can call me a slave, because that may be what I am to you. But to me, I felt alive. There is so much freedom within me. You have no idea.
Oui? Oh, go on, Marie. What were you about to say?
You have no idea who I am. You see the color of my skin, and that makes me less than you. Weaker. Imbecile.
But you did not get far, did you?
2 weeks later, they found us hiding in Chambly.
What about Claude Thibault?
What about him?
He knew you were black. He knew he was white. And yet he still agreed to run away with you.
There are some of us who believe that we are our own slave. Claude was a soldier in an army he wanted out of.
Thibault was in fact an ex-soldier working for your master as a carpenter.
So?
He was a servant, in fact. Like you.
What of it?
That meant working for Monsieur and Madame de Francheville put him on the same level as you. No? A slave?
I suppose.
You did not love him.
What?
He certainly did not love you.
Lies.
Oh, come now, Angelique. He was using you. You were using him. He needed an excuse to get by the guards, as did you. You used one another. Are you to have citizens believe a white French servant, an ex-soldier, would fall in love with a negress slave woman? Run away with her and live happily ever after?
It was not about the color of our skin. It was about a choice to live the way we wanted.
You are talking about freedom. Yes, I believe in freedom. But I also believe in order. With order comes progress. Now tell me, Angelique, within this great center of progress, New France, do you really see yourself standing alongside those that are greater than you?
I need no one to tell me where to stand or when to sit. I am a woman with my own skin, my own blood. My blood is the same color as yours.
Marie-Joseph Angelique, you have been accused of setting Montreal ablaze.
I did not do it.
You are not only responsible for one attempt of arson, but two.
No, that is not true.
No? Are you denying you tried to escape?
No, I am denying the fire. I did not set the fire.
Then who did? You are a fool. They should have hanged you when they captured you the first time. Had they done so, it would have spared this great city anguish and despair. Regardless, this does not help with your defense in the slightest. This, in fact, helps with the prosecution. Because your first attempt at flight failed, you were determined to try it yet again. This time, making sure you would not fail, you made certain the second fire would spread faster and the flames would rise higher.
No.
What happened when you were captured?
Captured.
When they found you and Claude Thibault at Lake Chambly? What happened then?
I was sent back to the Widow Francheville.
And Claude Thibault?
He was sent to prison.
Where is he now?
I do not know.
Why were you and your accomplice, Thibault, so determined to set fire to the Widow de Francheville's home?
I never spoke to Thibault or anyone else about committing such an act.
Why should we believe you?
I do not ask you to believe me. I am not telling you I did it. I will not confess. All evidence leads you to believe that I am guilty. You have nothing over me but tyranny. If I am guilty of some hope of freedom, then so be it. Let freedom be my muse.
Will you sign a confession stating that Claude Thibault was your accomplice in the first attempt of arson and escape from slavery in the month of February 1734? Will you confess to setting the second fire at Widow de Francheville's home on April 10th, 1734? Then I have no choice but to proceed with la question ordinaire.
Rimbaud proceeds to place a board in between Angelique's ankles. Ties rope around the board to tighten the grip, causing her legs to push against the board. Rimbaud takes a large, blunt object and swings at her ankles, causing them to break. She sits in agony.
Who is your accomplice?
How can I reveal my accomplice if I did not do it?
You did! You and Thibault, you did it!
It's another swing at her bruised ankles.
Before the fire appeared on the roof, did you not take water and food to the pigeons up on the roof where the fire began?
Yes, it is true that I took food and water to the pigeons, but I did not go alone. The Widow Francheville went up with me.
Did you not go up to the attic after the Widow Francheville left for the evening?
I did not go up there at all.
But you just finished telling the court that you did go up there with the Widow Francheville. If can have the scribe recite the last statement.
What? No, what? No, I mean, yes.
Where were you when Sieur Radisson came to throw water on the fire?
I do not know.
You do not know?
I do not remember.
You do not know or you do not remember?
I was on the street.
Why did you go 3 or 4 times into the street to look in the direction of the roof, having no reason to do so?
I was on the street several times, but I never looked in the direction of the roof, having no reason to do so.
Is it not true that you carried hot coals up to the attic, and that caused the entire conflagration?
No!
Explain why you told Sieur Radisson that there was no ladder when he attempted to go up to the attic and throw water on the fire.
I never spoke to him about it. I did not set the fire at all.
When Sieur Radisson came to get a ladder, and when Sieur Radisson went to get a ladder, when he went to get more water, where did you go?
No! Enough! No!
Will enters, stopping Angelique in her tracks.
Marie Joseph? What is it?
We have done it. We have really done it.
Done what?
Oh yea, hear ye, on this 10th day of April 1734, the city of Montreal, New France, declares that the negress of Madame Francheville, known as Marie-Joseph Angelique, is guilty of arson.
You have done it. You have really done it. My God!
We must go now, Claude. If we hurry, we can make it to the Saint Laurent and we'll be far away from here once and for all. Our belongings are packed.
It is too late.
What?
Do you not see? It is already too late.
No.
They are calling your name.
The flames are just rising.
They will be coming for you.
Come.
The fire has spread too fast.
No, there's still time.
We will never escape.
Portugal.
Not together.
Freedom.
It is over. They are already calling your name.
Claude.
Marie. I cannot. I'm sorry.
He slowly drifts away.
Coward!
Falls to her knees, realizing her fate. She picks herself off the ground.
I set the fire. I did it. I set both of them. I knew I was to be sold, so I planned an escape. The first fire was used to cover our tracks. I set my blanket on fire while staying at Sieur Monnier's house. Widow Francheville said I was too much of an influence on the other servants, always talking back speaking my mind when I was not spoken to. She wanted Claude and I to be separated until I was sold. A few weeks later, we were captured and sent back. I was not scared. No one will tie me down. Your chains will not hold me.
Was Claude Thibault your accomplice on April 10th?
No one helped me. I set the flames, no one else. It was me.
The evening of April 10th, just after the widow de Franceville left for Hotel Dia.
I remember every step towards the attic. Each step took longer, as if it was my last time walking up those stairs. My heart was pounding. I felt alive. It was my choice. For the first time, I was taking a step towards my own destiny.
You placed hot coals under the crossbeams.
Under the crossbeams.
Just below the roof.
Below the roof.
And you ran downstairs.
Onto the street.
And you began to pace.
Pacing, pacing.
Waiting for the flames to erupt.
Flames.
Claude Thibault?
He ran.
Why did you not run? You could have run.
Because I was already dead. I was even tried. Before I was even tried, I was sentenced to hang, with or without my confession. There was no place for me here, just as there was no place for my children. Finally, I shall join them. My flesh and ashes may be yours, but my soul will leave a mark that is carried by the winds. Never shall you take my pride from me. What was once a flame is now but a memory that will burn longer than pages in any book. And the flames will rise.
As the executioner prepares for the hanging, Angelique begins to sing with gentle reprieve.
Oh, my child, child of God, child brought to me from high above, may you sleep, may you dream, my only child, my only knight. I bid good night, I bid good night.
The end.
Yes.
Yay!
That was awesome.
Lovely.
Everyone.
Wow, that was great, guys.
Thank you. So, Bo, would you like to roll straight into our next reading?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So From Here to Africville is the first play that I ever wrote, and I'll give you a bit of backstory to that. Geez, I'm going to say 20 years ago. Whoa. I was sitting at a bar in Halifax, and this guy at the end of the bar was like, what's your last name? I said, Dixon. He's like, you got a cousin? I'm like, well, my dad is from a large family. He's from New Brunswick. His great-grandparents are from Halifax. He's like, you got a cousin named Dewey. I'm like, pardon? He's like, yeah, you got a cousin named Dewey. I could see you got a cousin named Dewey. Dewey Dixon. He was a badass, man. He was a badass. The guy started saying all this stuff about Dewey Dixon. And I asked my dad, who's this Dewey? He's like, oh, yeah, you have a cousin, Dewey. He was a troublemaker, in and out of prison and stuff. So when I toured, so fast forward, I always remember that story. And then I'm touring this school play about the Underground Railroad, and I could tell that kids were getting bored of the story, and I could tell that students wanted something a bit more contemporary and immediate that sort of affected their lives. And so I was commissioned to write a play about any subject. And so I started doing research on two things. A desecrated Black community in Halifax called Africville. And I discovered that that's where my great-grandparents were from, on my dad's side. And Africville was a community that was torn down. There was about 800 Black residents living there, and it's just by the Bedford Basin. And in the early 70s, it was demolished. The city of Halifax deemed it below welfare subsidized living. And it was the first sign of urban renewal in Canada. So they basically took this Black community and just moved them to Uniacke Square, a different area in Halifax. And their reason for it was they were going to build some industrial factories and stuff. Oops, but they never did. It's a fact that this was racial injustice, economic and racial injustice. It's a fact. Moving on, so I started doing research about that. Then I found out about this boxer. He was the first African-Canadian bantamweight boxer, championship boxer in the world, George Dixon. And so I wrote a play originally, my quest to find out if I was related to George Dixon. It turns out I don't think I am. But so this play was sort of spawned from my journey as a person of mixed race, what my lineage was with George Dixon and Africville, and what came out of it was this story. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Kyle was so kind to address this. I'm sorry to single you out, Kyle, but I appreciate you bringing it up. There's the N word in here a couple of times. As a playwright, I wanted to insert that, and I wanted it to sting. I wanted it to sting. I wanted students to hear that word. I wanted to provoke the teachers and educators that would hear this at the schools, for any audience. And in the 50s, when this was done, the mid 50s, that N word was just sort of being reinvented. And, you know, sometimes like Kyle asked, is that word necessary? In, you know, a very diplomatic way. And as a playwright, it's like, as a playwright of color, I'm realizing until the white person can think of a word as nasty as the N word, there will never be an understanding of how that, of how painful that is for a Black person to hear that. And that's why the word is used so often. There's just nothing that surpasses that. And it's that uncomfortable feeling that I sort of want us as viewers, as actors, to experience. That uncomfortable feeling, because that is the only way it seems that a white person can put themselves in a person of color's shoes. Does that make sense? But in saying all this, I like to just split the difference, Kyle, because I think it's you that says it, and I don't want to, this is just a reading. I just wanted to pass that on, just because I think as actors, it's something that we should recognize, that acting is not safe, and there's going to be uncomfortable moments. And I think especially in these vulnerable times, there are subjects, there are issues that have to be confronted, and they won't be comfortable. But it's about us. It's about, I mean, systemic racism is not a comfortable issue. It's not a comfortable subject. So I don't think we should sugarcoat it and sort of dodge it. But in saying that, though, I'm fine with just, it's a cutoff, or you can say Negro. Now, as a playwright that I've shared it with you guys, you understand the reason why I put it in there. And dramaturgically, I've taken note of it, and maybe dramaturgically I can, look at that again. Yeah, sorry, I'm blathering, but I sort of, with Kyle's email yesterday, last night, I just wanted to share that with you guys, and moving forward in our careers, and with these sensitive times. Yeah, just wanted to share it. So I guess, Kyle, in closing, I leave that to you.
Okay, thank you so much for all of that clarification. I really do appreciate it. I hope it's okay with everyone else if I don't know, how does everyone else feel if I say the word? I really respect your will to provoke, Bo, and are people comfortable with that? I'm seeing nod. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
And again, I don't mean to single you out, brother, but I really appreciate you being sensitive to this, and you're clearly an ally, and you're looking out for everyone. So I really honor that and appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Let's do this.
Let's dive in.
Awesome.
From Here to Africville by Bo Dixon. Scene 1, 1956, Halifax Police Department. Staff Sergeant Tim Langdon walks into his office and stands for a moment looking at a quiet colored kid who is sitting in a holding cell with his head in his hands. Langdon is whistling to a tune that comes in on the radio, possibly an Elvis Presley song, Jailhouse Rock. The kid in cell is emotionless. Langdon stares at him and shakes his head before being interrupted by a phone ringing.
Langdon here. Put him through, would you, love? Alan O'Brien, you son of a gun. How's Halifax newest councilman? 1956 is going to be our year, I can tell you that. Where you been hiding? And don't tell me the racetrack. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Same old, same old. Oh, Reverend Davies came to Cornwallis Street Church on Sunday to give the sermon and commemorate the induction of George Dixon. Yes, sir. Little Chocolate entering the Sports Hall of Fame. You remember him, don't you? No, not Reverend Davies, Little Chocolate. George Dixon. Never mind. Listen, Al, I've got paper to shuffle and donuts to dunk. Uh-huh. Well, let's see, I got a map right here.
Ranson faces board with a map of Halifax.
The Northwest Shore, eh? You got the City Waste Yard and Bedford Basin. Say, what are you asking me for? I know it's my route, Al, but, well, there's nothing over there but the city dump and the fertilizer plant and, oh, well, of course, Africville. Africville, Al. Yes, that's right, Al. You boys can call it what you want down at City Hall. Big town, stink town, Seaview, whatever. All I'm saying is there's Negroes living along the Bedford Basin, and they call it Africville.
Langdon is chewing peanuts or bird seeds and flicks the shells at the kid in cell while talking on.
Oh, I'd say there's around 300 to 400 colored folk living up there. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Well, if you're asking me for my opinion, I say to hell with them. They don't even vote, Al. Tell them to go find someplace else to live. The city needs an industrial boost. The economy's dying. If it weren't for our harbors servicing the military, we'd be in even worse shape. We need that land the way I see it, Al. I agree with the mayor.
Man enters room. He's about to knock, but instead chooses to listen in on conversation.
There's prime land for Halifax. Industrial development and urban growth. That's what you boys down at City Hall call it, eh, Al? I like the sound of that. Industrial development and urban growth. Yes, sir. All the Negroes do for this city is steal from the waste yard, fish illegally, and then sell it back to the city. Don't worry about me, Al. This will definitely be kept between you and me. No use telling anyone about this.
Man at door finally knocks.
Listen, a ghost from the past just walked in. I should let you go. Let me know when you're settled into your new place and I'll show you around. How about a Thursday night fight at the Halifax Forum? Okay, sounds good. Bye for now.
Langdon hangs up phone and gestures for a handshake while not leaving the chair.
Well, if it isn't the Blue-Nosed Saint. Wonderful induction speech you gave Sunday afternoon, Reverend.
Well, it was the truth.
George Dixon would be smiling in his grave, smiling that pearly white smile of his.
I had great respect for the man.
Never met him.
God rest his soul.
Too young. One thing for sure, though, my old man never saw anyone move in the ring as fast as him. Little chocolate, he'd always say. Boy, that nigger could move.
Reverend looks at Langdon in silence. Shifting in his chair, Langdon eventually rises.
Speaking of George Dixon, we picked ourselves up a troublemaker who goes by the last name of Dixon. And he likes to use his fists, too. Say, I wonder if he's related to the George Dixon, eh, Reverend? What do you think?
Yes, I wonder.
I never thought of that.
Makes kissing sounds and such at boy and cell while throwing peanut shells at him.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
Yes, wouldn't that be something?
Reverend is trying to get a good look at what Langdon is doing to Boy and Cell. Boy doesn't take much more of it. He breaks his stillness and charges towards Cell bars. Langdon sticks out his club and pokes Kid in belly. Boy peels over and stumbles back to the corner. Langdon turns and notices Reverend's disapproval.
Well, what brings you here, Reverend? Come to get me to confess my sins?
Everyone has sinned.
Right.
No one measures up to God's glory.
I forgot.
But if you have something you need to get off your chest.
Uh-huh. We've been through this before. You almost got me. You're a Baptist minister. Catholic priest hears confessions, right?
That's right. 2 different denominations. Any confessions you give me will rest on deaf ears.
So, what'll it be?
I thought you could help me out with something.
I'll try to do my best.
As you may or may not have heard, there was a fire in Africville last night.
We picked up the call on the radio.
The old school hall beside Seaview Church was burnt down.
It's a damn shame. Too bad the fire department couldn't get there sooner.
It took 40 minutes for them to respond.
Maybe they could have saved the building.
40 minutes?
It's been a busy couple of days, Reverend.
Mr. Jameson had to call twice from his variety store.
Well, you know how it is in this city.
This was the 5th fire in Africville this year.
The soldiers and sailors are home for the weekend. Everybody downtown was whooping it up, having a swell time.
People are at risk.
And besides, we had the big annual fair.
None of this would happen if they only had running water.
I'm a policeman, not a fireman.
These people pay taxes.
That's not my jurisdiction.
Why won't the city supply them with running water?
I do believe the city council suggested to those colored that they organize their own little fire department and delegate a fire chief, property manager.
But this all takes time and money.
Reverend, I know how fond you are of that town.
Why won't the city supply them with running water?
Money? Can we all use a little money?
Langdon rattles cage, trying to get Kid's attention.
Get up, boy. You're due for some prints.
Boy reluctantly gets up and slowly walks to cell doors while Langdon opens cage and waits.
Have you ever been to Africville, Langdon?
Of course I have. You know that. You know the drill, boy. Don't try anything funny, or Billy here will leave his prints on your skull.
But have you ever been to Africville? I know you've driven down Campbell Road and you do your rounds every so often along the end of Barrington. But have you ever sat down and eaten a meal with Joe and Retha Skinner? How about Mrs. Carvery? She knows you. She cleans your neighbor's house once a month. Did you know that? Mrs. Brown does house cleaning for your police chief on Gothington Street. Or how about the Sutherlands? Little Timmy is your boy Tyler's age. Plays football with him at Queen Elizabeth High and then rushes to the bus depot to shine shoes so he can save up for a pair of second-hand cleats.
Langdon becoming frustrated with the boy's resistance, Langdon starts to use a bit more force.
I get your point, Reverend. Now, I'm awful sorry about what happened up there in Africville, but as you see, I've got important matters to attend to, so if you're through preaching, why am I blessed with your presence?
Reverend is showing some interest in the boy's behavior. He notices his demeanor.
Well, as I was saying, as a result of the fire, the community has to build a new school, start all over again. What with it being summer and all, they're missing a lot of the younger able bodies on account of them working at the airbase or in the port as stevedores.
So, what can I do about that?
You can lend me a few strong, healthy men to help with the heavy labor.
Excuse me?
They'll be under my supervision, of course. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility.
You'll take responsibility.
Full responsibility.
Let me get this straight. You want me, a police officer, staff sergeant of the Halifax Police Department, to lend you a few prisoners, convicts, criminals?
Let's call it community service.
Let me paint you a little picture here for you. Suppose I lend you one of these criminals. One day, you're looking the other way, and he decides to make a run for it, jump bail, steal a car, and head south to the States, whatever. Or worse, kidnap some innocent child. Are you going to take full responsibility of telling that poor child's parents that they may never see her again?
You're a gambling man, are you not, Langton? You like to take a few risks once in a while?
Now, if you're wanting to place a bet on how long it takes for this saintly plan of yours to backfire...
What's your name, son?
He isn't too friendly, Reverend. You might have better luck talking to one of the other delinquents down the hall.
What do they call you, friend?
Dewey Dixon is his full name. That's what his parole officer calls him. No family, not that I know of. Adopted. First time I met Dewey, he was 16 years old. He worked down at the docks. Pier 9, I think it was. One of the workers called in reporting a fight between the head laborer and one of the stevedores. When we arrived, the head laborer was lying on the dock holding his chest and squirming like a dying moose. Dewey was being held down by not 2, but 4 labor men. The man lying on the ground was 245 pounds. Pure muscle. After breaking his left rib, Dewey had his bit his nipple off. This kid's a walking killing machine. Someone's gonna get hurt, Reverend. Do you want to risk finding out who's next? Or maybe, do you want to be next?
It sounds like ancient history. People change, don't they, Langton? Besides, I've got a feeling about this kid. Don't ask me why, let's just call it a hunch of some sort. What are your charges this time?
Trespassing.
Trespassing?
And loitering.
That doesn't sound very serious to me. Where do you live, Dewey?
Anywhere?
Where?
Everywhere.
We caught him squatting in the old mill.
Phone rings.
Let me get this, huh, Rev?
Reverend gestures as if shooing a fly. He's more focused on Dewey than Langdon.
Yep. Harriet, I told you. All right. I'll be right out.
Hangs up.
Say, Reverend,
Begins to leave Reverend.
maybe we can finish up at a later date and...
I'll wait, if you don't mind.
All right, then.
He exits.
The old mill. I used to play there when I was a lad. I know that neighborhood. We used to play hooky and go fishing there. Jeez, it's been a while. I remember there were these boys, Jonah and Bobby Simpson. They had a cousin, Lenore. Son, let me tell you, she liked me and I liked her. And the only people that were going to get in between us was Fatty, Jonah, and Bobby. I remember we called him Fatty on account of him looking like a whale. You know, Jonah and the whale.
Boring me, old man.
Well, let's see. 245 pounds. That's a lot of skin to be thrown around. I mean, you must not even weigh half that. How did you manage to duke it out on your own down at the docks? In fact, I bet that if you skipped a meal, you might find yourself weak in the knee. What are you, 120 pounds soaking wet?
Step in this box, I'll show you how I handle my weight.
They took you for granted, didn't they? They forgot all about your speed. Jonah thought he could push me around. He'd rather try to put me in a corner and give me a beating than see me dating his cousin. No white boy's gonna get my sister, he'd say. Go find a white skirt, some of your own kind. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? Sometimes you feel like you just want to be left alone. You know what I mean, Dewey? You don't have to be here, son. Now, where do you live?
I lost my job. Can't pay rent no more. Then they evict me. I ain't got no welfare.
Langdon enters.
Been living on street corners and alleys ever since, he says.
Nowhere else to go.
Quiet down.
Nowhere else to go.
Doesn't this concern you?
Not as long as he stays out of my neighborhood.
Don't you care?
No, I don't care.
You ever been to Africville, son? I can give you a place to stay, a roof over your head.
What are you, queer?
I've got a friend I stay with down by the basin. She makes a delicious beef stew. You've never had the best if you don't try a rosy stew. Boy, I can taste it now. Listen, if you are all that and more, you wouldn't be cooped in a box. I'm giving you something. An opportunity. You know what that is, don't you? A chance. A favorable combination of circumstances. Now, as long as I'm standing here, the chances of you getting out are in your favor. But once I walk out that door, you dig? So you either serve time with Langdon, or you work with me. Holy Moses, speaking of the time, it's almost time for dinner. If we hurry, we can make it if we hurry, we can still make dinner while it's hot. What happens to him now?
He'll have to go to court. The charges aren't as severe as any prior incidents, of course. If it were anything more extreme, like breaking and entering, he'd be sent to the prison to serve hard time. Now, if you were to appear in court and speak on his behalf, Reverend,
Of course I'd speak on his behalf.
then I'm sure the judge would see fit to sentence him to 20 hours a week of community service for a period of 2 years. And he'd be free to do what he wants, as long as he checks in here at the station every Sunday.
What do you say, friend?
Thank you, mister.
Scene 2. Africville. 2 days later. Girl listening to the radio. The song is In the Still of the Night. She's very sad. The music reminds her of the tragedy that has occurred. She's sitting at the kitchen table hemming a pair of men's dress pants. She makes alterations and such to the pants, while once in a while sizing it up with the dress shirt she has placed on a mannequin. She's a seamstress. While she's busy working, her spirit is lifted as she gets caught up listening to the next song that comes on the radio. Sam Cooke's Twisting the Night Away. The mannequin is in her arms. She's pretending to dance with a man. Dewey enters the room. He does not interrupt her dancing with the mannequin. He's embarrassed and in shock.
Who are you?
I didn't mean to rattle you.
Doing?
Relax.
I'll strike you permanently if you don't tell me who you are.
I'm Dewey.
Dewey? Who?
Dixon. Dewey Dixon?
Dewey?
Yeah, Dewey Dixon. They just told me to drop some wood off at Aunt Hattie's house. But it says that I don't know Aunt Hattie. And they said she's old. Bitch with the nasty temper that lives in the house closest to the red farmhouse. I found the red farmhouse, but it was locked, and now I'm looking for the old witch with the nasty temper. Are you Aunt?
I am not Aunt Hattie, thank you very much, Mr. Smarty Pants. I'm her grandniece.
Grandniece? What does that make you?
And who said you could just walk in here without knocking?
Reverend Davies sent me.
Tell you to come in without knocking?
Right, so I should have knocked.
So, you know Reverend?
Yes. No. I mean, I met him 2 days ago. The gym?
The Creighton Street Gym. Oh, you're that kid he bailed out of jail.
Hey, I'm no kid.
I'm Ava. Nice to meet you.
Eva approaches Dewey and he responds abruptly by backing away, looking at her dumbfounded.
What's wrong with you?
Most people give me a high hat or a frown before they offer their hand. Oh, been in prison.
Did you kill somebody?
Not that I know of.
Have you ever killed somebody?
What are you, a lawyer? Great-grand niece of Aunt Hattie had the third?
If you haven't killed anyone, then there's nothing to be creeped out about.
Nothing to creep you out about?
Sounds to me like you're just another fool trying to get by the hard way.
I'm no fool.
Oh, I've met all kinds of fools. Brave fools, fools in funny hats, dancing fools, fools for love. I met this one fool who had 2 left feet. I could hear his nose whistle every time we slow danced. There's some fools who end up wasting their life away in and out of jail, while other fools try to make something of themselves. What kind of fool do you want to be?
Figured it out yet.
So, what kind of name is Dewey anyway?
My name?
Where did your mama get a name like that?
No.
You don't know? Ever thought about asking her?
Never knew my mom.
Oh, well, what about your father? He must have a zany twist to his style to come up with a name like that.
I don't got no father.
What do you mean?
There's no one, all right?
Everybody has somebody.
Well, not me, all right?
Hey.
Just listen. Just lay off about it.
Okay. No need to blow a gasket, Daddy-o.
I just left the wood outside, like old man told me to do.
Trying to have some conversation.
On the floorboards in case any more need fixing.
Oh, well, the floorboards are over there. Just try to stay out of my way. Just try to stay out of my way.
Dewey begins to inspect the floorboards. He gradually approaches Eva's sewing table and begins snooping around. Eva looks up from her sewing.
Got any nails?
Eva rises to retrieve nails from a shelf or cupboard. Dewey takes the nails but does not step away from desk. He waits. Eva looks up.
I need a hammer.
Eva returns from the same area with a hammer. She throws it on the table.
I hope you know how to use this because I got 3 more suits to mend before this Saturday's fundraiser, and I won't ever get it done with you pestering me about every little thing.
He begins fixing the floorboards while Eva continues to work. Stops hammering and looks up.
Are you from around here?
I was born and raised here. Went to public school here. What's left of the school anyway? The city shut down 3 years ago. I went to Queen Elizabeth High, and then Mama saved up and we moved to Toronto so I could go to university there. As soon as I heard about the fire, I bought the first train ticket heading east, and I just had to come and help Aunt Hattie.
Where's she now?
In the hospital. She broke her hip trying to put out the fire. Silly old poop. I'm trying to finish her patterns here. She taught me everything I know. She made dresses for movie stars, musicians. She just finished making a suit for Duke Ellington. Everybody knows him around here, you know? He's got family here. I don't know how she does it. She's almost 85 and she's trying to put out fires, running back and forth, up and down that hill, hauling water from the well. Finally got the better of her, I guess.
Why didn't she use the tap water?
There ain't no tap water here, fool. The city hasn't given us anything since the day Aunt Hattie's parents stepped foot on this land. Some of the houses have electricity and indoor plumbing. That took over. Hey Siri, I'm going to have Siri. What the heck? Some of the houses have electricity and indoor plumbing. That took over 20 years to get installed. It's been that way since the beginning. Nothing's changed, and for over 20 years, we've been paying taxes like everybody else in the city of Halifax. Now, why do you think that is, Dewey? A white family gets electricity, and my great aunt gets nothing. 'Cause that family lives in a bigger house, is white, and my Aunt Hattie's black. Black as night. There ain't no other excuse I can think of. How does that make you feel?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, no one's really asked me how it makes me feel.
Well, I'm asking. No matter. Just keep working. We keep getting stronger. We're one big family. We're in Africville now.
Well, from here to Africville, it's all the same to me.
Say, you said your last name is Dixon? You may have some cousins here. Did you ever think of that, Dewey? Oh, there's a lot of Dixons here. There's Mildred Dixon, Alma Dixon, Stella Dixon, and, of course, George Dixon.
George Dixon?
That's right. You ever heard of him?
Yes. No. I mean, down at the station, I heard Reverend and Langton talking about George Dixon. Small chocolate or something?
You don't know who George Dixon is? Man, back in Toronto, you're what they'd call a real simpleton. George Dixon was only the greatest boxer that ever lived. He fought more than 800 fights in his lifetime. In 1890, he became the first black champion. You think you've got it bad? Think of the battles he had to fight in and out of the ring just to survive the death threats. Lynch mobs waiting for him after he knocked out a white man for everyone to see. He was the most famous black man in the world because of it. Born here, right here in Africville. The white folks called him Little Chocolate. We called him our hero. He was...
Screams while hopping onto the kitchen table.
What is it?
Something's over there.
Over where?
There, in the corner. It was big and black. It had dark eyes and a long thin tail.
Oh, and it looks like a cat but has more teeth?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a rat.
Rat? There's a rat in here? Man, I hate rats. Ain't nothing worse than rats.
Haven't you ever seen a rat before?
Ah, I seen them, and then I run fast the other way.
I lost count of how many rats roam around here. Ever since they moved the city dump out here, we've had nothing but rats. Poor Evelyn Penner. She lost her 4-month-old baby, eaten to death by rats. Sickest thing I ever heard.
Eaten alive by rats?
Evelyn's never been the same.
What did she do?
What could she do? She felt horrible. She was so tired working in the factory all day, she even slept through the sound of trains that come roaring through here, shaking these homes. She slept through it all. Didn't hear her baby in the next room. God bless little Grace.
There you are, son. You had me worried.
But I was just talking to Eva. Say, you didn't think I was going to make a run for it, do you?
No, of course not. Well, I see you two have met. How's my favorite girl?
Oh, Reverend. It's so good to see you.
It's been a while, Eva. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. And how's Aunt Hattie?
Oh, you know what she's like. More stubborn than a billy goat. She's probably bossing the nurses around by now.
Well, she'll be head nurse by the end of the week.
They said they'd be keeping her for a couple more weeks.
How come everyone knows one another, you old man? How come everyone knows you, old man?
I guess you could say that Africville was my home away from home. The Seaview Baptist Church up on the hill is where I held my first service. I baptized this little treasure you see before me.
That seems so long ago.
It's just like yesterday.
Carry it.
So how is retirement in New Brunswick, Rev?
Couldn't be better. I took up ice skating. Never thought I could do it. I still try to drop by from time to time to say hello to folks, preach the word of the Lord now and then.
Reverend Davies and my dad were sparring partners down at Creighton Street Gym.
You're beginning to look more and more like your mom every day. You know that?
Just a box?
Yep.
You never told me that.
You never asked. Besides, you're here to work, son. There's no time to sit around and listen to an old man talk. That was over 50 years ago. That's something I'd rather just leave behind me now.
No, that's not true, Reverend. Pool Izzard told me you still come down to have a look at the up and comers.
Wool lizard?
We all know you still have that bug in ya.
A prize fighter?
Sure.
Pool just lives 6 houses over.
He lives here? In Africville?
Which reminds me, he's been waiting for me at the church. His nephews like it when I tell the story of Dorsey versus Izzard knockout in 2 rounds. Say, Dewey, you put in some good hours this morning installing the new school doors. Why don't you take a break? Come with me and have some soda with a champion prize fighter.
Wool lizard?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, whatever. There ain't nothing else to do around here.
Well, don't let me stand in your way if there is.
Can I ask you something,
Sure.
Padre?
What do you mean?
What's your angle?
What do you mean?
What's in it for you? All this company keeping with lower class Negroes who live in the wrong side of the tracks.
So
that don't make no sense.
I don't understand.
Don't you got any friends of your own kind?
What kind is that?
I mean, we're black. Aren't whites more your type?
Whether you like it or not, we're all from the same tree. We're all God's children. We all grow and we all die. Now, what is so hard to understand about that?
Nothing. Yes.
He begins to follow Reverend while he watches him exit. Eva turns on the radio and hears the DJ announcing, "At the Hop." Eva starts to hum.
Well, come on then. See you later, Eva. Tell Hattie I'll be by.
Bye, Rev. Watch your toes, simpleton. Don't let the rats get you on the way out.
He jumps up with a startled expression and makes a quick exit. Scene 3. Langdon sits and is flossing his teeth with feet up on desk listening to radio. It's the same song from previous scenes. The phone rings. He turns radio down.
Speak, Harriet. I would love to talk to him. Harriet, why don't you go out and grab us a couple of coffees? Okay, put him through. Hey, Tom. Thanks for getting back to me. So, how did the fights go last night? Oh, really? Well, that's swell. I'll come by to pick up my winnings later today. Okay. Oh, can you put me down for 20 on Winnipeg? To win the Grey Cup.
There's a knock at the door.
Oh, I gotta go. See you tonight.
Hangs up phone and begins to look busy.
Enter.
There was nobody at the front desk.
Ah, there you are, son. Come on in. Oh, wipe your feet, for God's sakes. It's wet out there. Your parole officer dropped this off a couple of days ago. He wants you to sign it. And I have a couple of papers for you to sign regarding your recognitions.
Dewey approaches desk. Langton continues talking while handing over paperwork.
You know, I've worked here for over 20 years. Made a lot of arrests. Earned my stripes in this man's army. I deserve this job. I have my window overlooking the Atlantic, fresh coffee served to me by my lonely secretary. And even though I'm due for a promotion, I am still forced to be janitor of the local trash and clean up after you people. Is there any justice in this world? You don't know anything about justice, I'm thinking. Isn't that right, Dewey? Speaking of trash, how's it going over there in Africville? Father Davies tells me you have become quite the handyman over there. He says, where is it now? Ah, yes. Thanks to the youthful strength of our community workers, such as Dewey Dixon and the Carvery boys, Africville was able to fix the roof on Uncle Duke's candy store in less than a week and once again maintain a healthy environment for the kids in shelters, etc., etc., etc.
Wrote that?
Yes, he did.
Well, I'm just trying to do a good job.
You just make sure you keep it up.
Stay out of trouble.
My promotion is on the line here. I've got early retirement calling me in Truro, and one more Negro out of our neighborhood looks good on paper. We're backed up as it is with paperwork, understaffed with police officers, so if I hear any static on the radio about Dewey Dixon causing a ruckus in my jurisdiction, or anywhere for that matter, I'm naming Father Davies responsible. And it's a lot of trouble for him and straight back into the box for you. You hear me?
I hear you.
Do you hear me, boy?
I hear you, sir.
Anywho, I don't know why you people keep on trying to rebuild Africville anyway. It's like watering weed in a desert. There just isn't any point behind it.
How's that?
Well, you wouldn't understand, boy. Let's just say they're due for some spring cleaning. You just mind your business and do what the good reverend tells you to do. Then be a good little doggy and get out of the city. There's nothing for you here, son. I suggest you find some shoe shine work back in Calgary or move to New Brunswick with the reverend. Just leave Africville behind, and Halifax, and the whole damn province of Nova Scotia for that matter. Speaking of behind, don't let the door hit yours on the way out. Speaking of behind on your way out.
Dewey begins to stops. He's standing over Langdon's desk and is hesitant to speak. Langdon finally notices Dewey.
What is it now, boy? Forgot where you were going?
I was hoping I could sign it on Saturday instead of Sunday.
And why's that, son?
Reverend's got me working odd jobs down at the gym.
Now don't tell me.
Sunday is when I do some sparring with the regulars.
Boxing? St. Davey's got you trying on the gloves. Well, I'll be. Just because your last name's Dixon, he thinks he's got himself another champion. Should have known. Well, this will be interesting. Maybe it will be somebody's meal ticket. This will be interesting. Why, sure, son, sure. Go get your head knocked off. Sounds like you deserve it.
Thank you, sir.
Dewey exits and the phone rings on Langdon's desk.
Harriet? Harriet.
Phone still rings.
Put him through. Hello, councilman. How did the city meeting make out last night? Oh, really? Uh-huh. Oh, of course. Tell Mayor Lloyd he has my vote on building the bridge. Whatever it takes. So what about Africville? If it means cleaning them out so we can make room for the Mackay Bridge, then so be it. It's going to take at least 10 years to construct something of that magnitude. Think of the employment it will offer our kids in the future. Now, you tell Watkins not to forget about me, okay? That's dandy.
Langdon hangs the phone, sits back in chair.
That's just dandy. Goodbye, Africville. Hello, Easy Street. Hey, Harriet, are you back with those coffees yet?
Scene 4. 1 week later. The Creighton Street Gym, downtown Halifax. Reverend and Dewey are in a corner of the gym, and Dewey is skipping rope while Reverend has the clock on him. Dewey is extremely tired.
How do the legs feel?
They feel tired.
Well, that's good.
I was hoping.
Now we can work on some punches. Now we can work on some punches.
Barry, maybe give the line one more time.
Have a break?
Just a few more hours, son.
A few more hours? Man, you've had me doing sit-ups, push-ups, skipping rope for 15 minutes straight. I need some downtime, man.
What are you going to do in the final round?
do you mean?
Final round of a fight. What are you going to do when your opponent has beaten you to a pulp? Are you going to ask for a timeout? A break? Some downtime so you can nibble on your biscuits and milk? It's when you're tired that they pounce on you. Do you understand?
So,
No training seems pleasant at the time. In fact, it seems painful. But later on, it produces a harvest of godliness and peace. Now come over here. Listen. In an average fight, you'll be thrown anywhere from 100 to 150 punches in a round. That's a lot of arm motion in 3 minutes. Think of it. Over 20 rounds, and you have to keep on swinging those arms. Where are you going to get your stamina? Do you know what that is? It's staying power, strength, that hunger, a second wind that helps you push on. The godliness and the peace comes to you just when you think you've had enough. There it is, from within. Do you understand?
I think so.
Tell me.
Stamina is strength.
Yes.
It's that second wind.
Go on.
When you think you've given up, that's when you feel the hunger.
4 most important punches in boxing are the jab, uppercut, right cross, and left hook. The best punch to throw in a fight is the left jab. If you don't throw the left jab in a fight, you got nothing. You see how I'm leaning? In on my shoulder, but my feet are always planted, bending the knees. Let's see you try.
Huey approaches bag, starts beating it wildly.
Slow down, slow down. It's going to wear you out before it wears out the opponent. Ease into it. Find the rhythm.
Huey continues and begins to smile.
Good, good. Now show me a combination. Slip, move, bob, and weave. Slip, move, bob, and weave.
Say, Reverend, how old was George Dixon when he had his first fight?
Little chocolate? 16 years old? Yeah. He knocked out young Johnson in 3 rounds at the Halifax Forum.
Huey begins to look sloppy.
Son, with moves like that, you're going to trip over your own feet and be declared unconscious before you get knocked out in the ring. You're too sloppy. Keep your head up.
He speeds up and starts to quicken his jog.
You've got to step up, just like Dixon. Now, there was a fighter in motion, a warrior. He might have been small, but it didn't matter. He was quick. You couldn't catch him. And when you did, he had a combination waiting for you at the other end. When he punched you in the stomach, it was like a syringe sucking the life out of you. His stamina was so great that he would sometimes have over 15 fights in a week.
Did you ever fight him?
He was my trainer. I was 19 years old. For me right here in Halifax. 1905. He taught me a thing or two back in the day, let me tell you.
Like what? How to avoid a left hook in the kisser?
That. And how to get back up when you think you can't take it anymore. Perseverance, Dewey. That's what he taught me. Just when they think you've had enough, you get back up. It's a power of the mind, outwitting your opponent.
Outwitting?
Here, try to hit me.
I try to hit you, man.
Come on.
I'm gonna hit you.
What are you?
Quit it, now.
Scared of hitting an old man?
Reverend starts to poke at Dewey.
Listen, I ain't messing around.
Then hit me.
Reverend gives him one last slap in the face, and Dewey responds with a wild punch that sends him forward and unbalanced, leaving him vulnerable for Reverend to demonstrate an open shot to the stomach.
You're focusing so hard on your anger that you lost sight of what you were trying to hit. Never let your emotions blind you from seeing the prize.
Hey, Rev.
What now, son?
Do you think I could be... Well, I've been drifting all my life. I never gave a second thought about where I might be from. But
what, Dewey?
Well, do you think that there might be a chance that I might be related to George Dixon?
Reverend Downey, Reverend! Dewey! There you are.
Eva,
What's going on?
what's wrong?
I saw some men in white suits snooping around Kildare's field. They want to wipe us out.
Wipe us out?
Kick us out. Relocate.
Relocate what?
Us! I was just down at Joe Skinner's. Retha and Joe and Deacon Mantley were talking about how they want to move us out of Africville.
Africville, oh Lord, I thought it was just talk.
You knew about this, Reverend?
I had an idea, but
you chose not to do anything about it? You chose not to tell us?
Would someone tell me what you guys are talking about?
Mayor Lloyd and most of the city council have signed a list petitioning to have the residents of Africville relocated.
Relocated?
Shipped off somewhere else. Dewey, aren't you listening? Don't you get it? They want to get rid of Africville.
How can they do that?
I don't know, but they're doing it.
future development.
They said they were city inspectors contracted to survey the land or something.
I never thought they would get this far.
You knew about this?
Conversation in Langton's office.
I thought it was just Langton talking nonsense.
I remember.
Until I knew more, I didn't want to concern the community with ignorant talk.
Well, that sounds like Langton talking, all right. Talking his way to early retirement so he doesn't have to deal with us poor niggas no more.
Eva!
Don't you Eva me, Reverend. You got a real nice smile for that pulpit, mister. But do you have more than a psalm and a quote from that Bible of yours to stop my Aunt Hattie from being thrown out of her own home?
Now you hold on.
She's lived there all her life. She's got nowhere else to go.
Don't give up on me now.
This community's all we have.
We have to keep on praying.
Praying? They've been treating us like second-class citizens for over 150 years.
We have to have faith, child.
We own that land. It's our property.
You know as well as I do, there is powerful spirit in Africville.
When you own property, you are no longer a second-class citizen.
Spirit built from strength.
But they want to throw us out into the street and treat us like dogs.
Africville has survived slavery, the War of 1812, the Great Explosion, depression, poverty.
It's happening now. And you want me to pray?
Well, what are we going to do?
Well, after that day in Langton's office, I contacted some friends in Montreal. Lawyers. Old friends of mine that owe me a few favors. They said that Halifax wants to construct a suspension bridge.
It was in that way.
People like Mayor Lloyd and Staff Sergeant Langton think that Africville is expendable because low income, maintenance on property, high percentage of welfare.
Why would they give Africville a fighting chance? It took the city 20 years to give them proper electricity.
If we could just prove to them that Africville is a prosperous community.
How long does it take to hear your neighbors cry for help? I'm telling you, Reverend, it is nothing more than racism.
Eva, the first black man to step foot on this land was a free man. He owned this land. His master who set us free gave him this land. Now are we going to let some fancy words like urban renewal get us all flustered?
It's just the white politician trying to undermine the value of a black community.
What are we going to do?
Father turns and looks at Dewey.
Together, we're gonna fight.
Scene 5, 1958, Halifax Police Department. Staff Sergeant Langton is pacing in front of his desk. He anxiously gazes at his watch. He's waiting for a phone call. Phone finally rings.
Speak, Harriet. Yeah, put him through. Hey, Tommy. So did Terry go through with the deal? Hot dog. We did it, Daddy-O. We're going to double our money on this bet. How easy was that? Don't worry, Tom. I'm a police officer. You think I'm going to get sloppy about this and let it leak out onto the streets? No one will know. Plus, there's no law in boxing. The gamblers and mob have run it for years. Anyways, think of it as luxurious entertainment. Now, this is how it works.
At some point while Langdon is talking, the stage becomes split into two different locations. Reverend and Dewey are sparring with a skipping rope and a big burlap bag. Dewey looks fit. He's more in shape and looks like a professional boxer. Reverend starts to show more enthusiasm and encouragement.
The fight is next week at the Halifax Forum. Former champion Leroy Rocco Jones versus Dewey the Dagger Dixon are the headliners. Dewey Dixon, a young kid, a troublemaker I picked up 2 years ago, back when the school burnt down in Africville. Turns out he's been doing rather well in the amateur circuit these past few years, slipping over the border, fighting under an assumed name. Rumor has it he's been putting most of his earnings back into Africville. Forget it. Guess who's been chauffeuring him to the fights, Tommy? The one and only Reverend Davies himself. That's right. They went and found themselves a gym to work out in and managed to bring in quite a bit of money on their travels, as I understand. More cash than what any colored boys have ever had in his hand before. Oh, nothing. Oh, nothing worth sneezing over. He'd made anywhere from $5 to $10 a round. Officially, his record is 20-3. The fight at the Forum is Dewey's shot at turning pro, which means that these business associates from out of town will be betting Rocco goes down. Dewey ain't gonna make it to the pros. Believe you me. Well, you leave that up to me. Dangle some money in front of those monkeys and they'll do just about anything for you. Plus, who would say no to $1,000? You just make sure the bets are on, okay? Harriet, phone down to the gym on Creighton Street. Get a hold of that Dixon boy. Send a cruiser to pick him up.
Scene 6, 1958, 1 week later, Halifax Forum. Dewey is jogging on the spot while Reverend tightens up his gloves and starts rubbing Dewey's shoulders while giving him a pep talk.
Big one, huh, Rev?
How many fights did George Dixon win?
600.
Why did he win?
Because he stayed on his feet.
He always danced.
He never stopped dancing.
What do we do when we feel like quitting?
We start winning.
No pressure?
No diamonds.
How do we win?
Deny the pain.
Keep your eye on the prize.
Don't lose the motion of the swing.
How big was George Dixon?
5 feet and 3 inches.
What does that tell you?
The battle is within you.
It doesn't matter how big or small you are.
Power comes from within.
Okay. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel really good. Like I belong in the ring.
That's good, son.
You know, Rev, ever since I started fighting 2 years ago, I've got this feeling growing inside me. It gets bigger every time I get closer to the ring. It feels like something inside me is going to take off and I'm going to be left behind. Do you know what I mean?
That's fate calling you, son. Don't fight it. Embrace it.
Fate?
Fate. Faith. Faith. Faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being certain of what we do not see. That's why we believe that we see was not made out of what we seen.
Rev, you okay?
I'm proud of you, Dewey. I know I never told you that, but I guess things just started happening for us so quickly, and
What?
I guess I've started to think of you as a son I never had. So remember what I told you about Rocco. He may be small, but he's...
Hey, Rev. You're talking to me like this is my first fight. I've had quite the record this year, Reverend. 17 knockouts.
I know, son, I know.
Only 3 split decisions.
You've listened to my babbling the last couple of years and followed my instructions. That's a sign of a healthy boxer. So remember what I told you about Rocco Jones. He's a real slippery fellow.
I remember.
Don't forget how he cornered Red Top Davis with his left jab to the face.
I know.
Hello, hope I'm not interrupting the champ.
Eva.
Thank you so much for the robe.
Well, it isn't anything.
No one has ever made anything for me.
I just wanted to drop by and wish you luck. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. It's Reverend you might want to check on. He hasn't kept quiet since we got here.
Okay. I'll leave you to it. Just remember, son.
I know, Reverend. I'll be careful. I know.
Well, this is it. Your big fight at the forum.
Yeah, this is it. It's the big night.
Dewey? Are you all right?
Huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all right. Go and get a good seat on Hattie.
Me? I ain't sticking around to see the fight. No, I have to catch the next bus back to Toronto tonight. I've got my own fight to win. I'm meeting with some lawyers in a couple of days. Thanks to your help, Dewey, the community of Africville can afford to hire some lawyers from the Civil Liberties Association all the way from Toronto and Hamilton. They're going to help us protect our property rights. You've really helped Africville. You know that, Dewey?
I just won some fights. It ain't nothing.
To you, it ain't nothing? Well, if raising $750 ain't nothing, I'd like to see what is. Look after my Aunt Hattie while I'm gone, won't you?
Sure will. I might even try to get rid of that rat problem.
Fat chance. Well, see you around. Good luck, Dewey. Sock him one in the chin for me, would ya?
Eva starts to leave.
Eva? I'll be here when you get back.
He smiles and finally exits. Louis is left alone in the change room and sits patiently, quietly, waiting. Langdon enters.
Yoo-hoo! Dewey the Dagger Dixon. Well. What have we here? Your fans leave you all alone?
I just needed some time for myself.
That's fine, sport. I just wanted to drop by and remind you about our little arrangement. I hope you haven't forgotten.
No.
Oh, come on, son.
No, I haven't forgotten.
I understand how you must feel. Taking a dive for the big boys is never easy, especially just when you're becoming known as one of the most promising fighters to come out of Africville, Halifax for that matter. But there will always be others, Dewey. You remember that. If it weren't you taking the fall, it would be some other darky. I won't take up any more of your time. Good luck. But then again, you don't need luck, do you? You just need to drop to your knees and count to 10. Oh, make it believable, eh, son? No funny stuff? You pull this off, and you get a sweet $1,000. I can buy a new life. Help pay for a DeSoto and drive on out of this town. Maybe even fix a few roofs in Africville. The choice is yours. Adios, amigos.
Langdon exits. Dewey watches Langdon, and then he begins to jog on the spot, swinging in the air while reviewing everything he has learned from Father. At this point, his shadow appears on the wall. He starts his basic training of shadow boxing with
Get upset. Get angry. Put your mind to it. Stay on your toes. Gotta keep your feet moving at all times. Eyes right on. Follow with the punches. Leave fear outside the ring. Step in the box.
As he trains, the shadow seems to take on a life of its own. Dewey eventually notices and begins to follow the shadow's motion. Shadow is George Dixon. A radio begins to broadcast a classic Dixon fight where it exemplifies the tension in the audience and the fast paced action of the great fighter in the ring, destroying a well known white fighter. The radio broadcast melds into a broadcast of Dewey versus Jones. The lights fade. Reverend enters.
Dewey?
Dewey walks over to Reverend. Reverend puts a towel over his head. They exit. Scene 7. 1958, Halifax Police Department, a couple of days after the fight. Langton sits at his desk. His head is lying on the desk. The phone is ringing, but he chooses not to answer. It is evident that he is avoiding all calls. Dewey enters the room without knocking.
Langton?
Get out, boy.
Langton, I've come to sign out.
Leave me be.
For good. Langton, my 2 years are up.
I said get out.
You don't own me no more, Langton. I'm leaving. I just want to tell you that.
Tell me what? Tell me I'm washed up? Tell me you won. You wanted to tell me you got me strung up by the neck? Huh, Dewey? The dagger comes out from under once more, folks. Victory over Jones in 2 rounds. It's a knockout. You swindled me. You bet on yourself to win, didn't you? Leaked it out to everyone that it was a fixed fight. Why, you nigger. If I wasn't wearing this badge.
You don't own me, Langton. I'm not scared of you. I grew up in places like this. And for years, people like you treated me like nothing more than an animal. A boxed animal. Just waiting to be shipped and in and out like lost luggage. For years, I would see my life walk by me. But I never had the guts to just step out of that box and claim what was mine. I blame you for that, Langton. You never gave me the chance. I blame you, just like I blame Halifax for keeping Africville stuffed in a box until it rots. Well, I ain't gonna work no more. We never been a group to reckon with. Never had any power, no money. We're just a bunch of animals collecting trash from your backlots. Well, not anymore. I'm here to tell you that Africville is here to stay. You can't destroy our sense of self-worth.
You've got nothing, boy.
Goodbye, Langton.
You got nowhere to go but down. You won't box in this town again. I'll make sure of it. I mean, where are you gonna go, huh? What the hell are you gonna do?
I'm going to do what George did. I'm going to fight. When I claim my prize, and they ask where I'm from, I'll tell them I'm from Africville.
Dewey turns to exit. Blackout. Gunshot. The end.
Wow.
Guys, that was wonderful. Just, I have butterflies, and you brought it to life. Both of those plays, I'm so elated. Wow. That was wonderful. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions, emails?
Well, we can sort of maybe take a quick bathroom break before we jump into our post-reading discussion. How does that sound, Bo?
Wonderful.
All right, amazing. So we'll meet back here at 4:10. All right, we'll see you soon. Yeah, just turn on your cameras once you're back at your computer so we know that you're all here.
And
Great
thank
work,
you.
everyone. We're just waiting on 2 more. We'll just give them a minute. Nice to have you back, Jeanette. How are things in the world of wonderful world of YouTube?
You know what? After all my, saying that it was so good, this time it wasn't.
Oh
At
no,
the
what
beginning,
happened?
I had to keep turning it off and coming back because it wasn't in sync. So
Oh,
it was weird. But anyway, eventually it was fine.
Jeanette, I'm here at Stratford, and I was having a social distance hangout with Martha Henry. She says hi.
Oh, bless her heart. Hi back. Big love. Big love. That's nice. I miss it. It's been a few years. It's
Yeah,
nice.
well, sounds like you're missed here.
Oh, that's really sweet. That's really sweet.
well, thank you everybody for sticking around for the post-reading chat. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Bo. Yeah, just to lead off our discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I can say that it was wonderful hearing you guys bring it to life again. You know, there's a few moments where I cringed a bit. It was like, it's like my first 2 plays I ever wrote. It was like, yeah. But then there was other moments where it was like, yeah, I'm really proud of the work, and it spoke, and you guys brought humanity to it. I guess I want to ask you guys, you know, I mean, I just would like to actually pass it on to you guys. Like, do you have questions? Do you feel as these plays, as they are introduced as TYA plays, feel that they are effective? Yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, you can be kind or you can be cruel. Like, I know that they've been respected and they've been tried, tested, and true, but everyone has their opinions, so I welcome that. So don't try to, you know, you don't have to be sensitive to my feelings.
Well, I mean, the one thing that struck me, because I think I had a chance to read them before you had suggested the sort of TYA approach to the reading. And originally, it hadn't really struck me that they were written for young audiences, which I actually appreciate. Like having worked with a lot of young groups, like I've worked with students from like ages as low as like 7 or 8. I found that they're a lot more with it, intelligent, plugged in than sometimes people are willing to credit them for. And especially to feel like you're being talked down to, or that something is being dumbed down for you, can kind of put them off very quickly. And I don't think these plays do that at all. So much so that I wouldn't have really thought that they were written with a younger audience in mind. So yeah, I appreciate that about these shows a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to jump off of that as well, because I also didn't realize that they were, until a few days ago, that these were originally written for a young audience. And I also didn't pick up on that in reading them, which is great. And in fact, in Once a Flame, I really feel that there's an inherent theatricality that you've written into it. It's very intriguing and very exciting. And I can see that that will affect how the story is told. And that feels, what's the word? not mature, but it just feels solid, which is great. I also just want to say how much I appreciate these two plays being about events, more so with Once a Flame, but also with Africville, that we don't hear about very often. And that's why I immediately jumped on this. And in fact, I did a little bit of research quickly, especially about Africville, just so that I could know. I have family that live in the Halifax area, so I had some conversations with them. But wow, these stories need to get out there. They really do. And I, hats off to you both for writing plays about this, because we know what we can do with plays. We're theater people, we can put them on, or someday anyway. So I really appreciate that. I wanted to say that.
Speak to that too, Jeanette. I had the opportunity of studying Consecrated Ground by George Boyd when I was at UTM in the Sheridan theater program I went to. But that was my first introduction to Africville. I had no idea that this community existed in Halifax, and I was learning that in university. But the lovely thing about what you've created, Bo, with Africville is it's and the fact that it's underneath the umbrella of TYA. It's a wonderful vignette, the exact same sort of vibe as George Boyd, but scaled and direct, and definitely in a language that a thing that kind of popped up with this whole TYA umbrella too is both these pieces, I would like to see them almost tour, and Africville seemed, you could definitely put that towards middle school kids, and then Angelique's story can be the high school realm. So, bigger high schools that kind of range from JK to 12. You have these two stories that ring a lot of the same messages, and then just with the content of Angelique's being a bit more mature. But so just to, again, you're not sheltering anything from one age group or the other, but it's the language that kind of can speak more to that specific age group. And like I said, I would love to see that implemented as soon as possible, because I don't want folks like me to not learn about Africville until you are in university. That should not be the way of the world. This is part of our history, just as part of everything else is, right? So so that I wanted to mention the TYA tiers, because I think especially high school students, grade 8 students and what have you, would be able to take both pieces. But I actually think you can take Africville and show it to 5th graders, or to follow Dewey's story, and center him around his boxing journey too. I think that's something that's really relatable to kids of that age. Give them more credit for that. Yeah.
But that's wonderful, and what is so wonderful to hear is that it's sounding like a lot of you didn't know that it was a TYA play, and not to be self-deprecating, and that's not what I'm, by me saying, wow, these are TYA plays, please understand that. And for a play to stand on its own is something very special to hear as the playwright, and it's so true. Young audiences, you can't fool them. They're not easily fooled, and they should be highly respected. And actually, you have to sort of, the writing, you should massage it with that, honoring their level of intelligence.
And I think you also, I think also there's such a good job in you've done such a good job in Once a Flame, especially of just reiterating what's happening constantly. So it's not, they're not being talked down to, but if anything is missed, it's there. And I feel the same way in Africville. It's every scene I'm oh cool, I get a little recap of all the things I have to remember. And if I'm a child getting these kinds of stories, it's it's so needed. But again, it's I think it's handled really well. I did not think they were TYAs when I was reading.
I loved how you read Rimbaud, Daniel. That was great.
Thank you. I am glad.
I can just touch on what Daniel and Jill were saying. I'm fresh out of high school now, right? So I just graduated this year, and when I was reading these and listening to them, I felt that it was very informative, and I had no idea about Africville. I had no idea about these events because it's not really preached. And I think that kids close to my age as well and younger would really appreciate it. I think they would really appreciate the work that you've written, and could really understand and comprehend the messages that you're trying to send without, like Daniel and Jill were saying, making it so they're talking down to them and making it as if, oh, you need to say it in this way to make them understand. No, I think it's a very mature piece, and they're both very mature pieces. And I think that having that perspective and understanding the message behind both plays is very, very powerful. And it really helped me understand, like, not everything's the same around the world. Everything's different. And no matter like what different people experience, sometimes there are similarities, and time periods flow and change, and we're never gonna have what we had back then. Now it's a lot better. It's not the best, but it is better than what it was. And I think that that's really helpful in what you've written, because it's really given me a new appreciation and a new understanding for how we have it today. So yeah, thank you for your great pieces. They were awesome.
Bless. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, did I talk over someone? Oh. Okay. Yeah, kind of going off of what Dita said, like, it's there's something to be said about, at least when I was in elementary, primary, high school, like learning about Canadian history, and having learned about these things when I was in school would have made like an immense difference of how I would have understood Canada, and what, what kind of agency we had in things like slavery, and in like for lack of a better phrase, like the early versions of gentrification, like what that looks like. And that it's not so far away as like America, like it happened here. And on top of that, especially being someone from like Ontario, to talk about places like Montreal and to talk about places like Halifax are, people, like, kids don't know. They really don't know. And even beyond that, people don't know. Like, I didn't know about Africville. I'm 25. And I only learned about Africville when I did like a show in Halifax. And that's, it's not like I've not been exposed to Black culture across Canada. It's just that people don't know about a lot of these stories, especially for these stories to be written from like a Black Canadian playwright who's also from those areas, or has like actual can trace back their ancestry there. Like, that really makes it much more realistic for young people and Canadians as a whole. So like, thank you for creating these pieces, and thank you for creating them in such a way that they're not filtered. Like, when you were having the conversation about saying the Edward, I'm like, things are like that, so it should be in there, and we shouldn't be shying away from those things. Like, that's how life is. Life is complex, and it's difficult and hard and great all at the same time, but people do say these words, and it's sometimes not enough, especially I think in high school, because kids learn words and you can't police speech. So learning these words and giving, a face to that pain is very beneficial, I think, for everyone to see. So regardless, I think if you want to go the TYA route, or like touring the play across schools, I think really and truly everybody needs to be watching these things collectively across like Canada. So
it's great to hear.
Yeah, I would argue that it's more important in a way to make sure that they're seen not just by the TYA demographic, because we've got some catching up to do. I mean, I'm personally at the moment in a rage that my education growing up was such a deception, that I feel it's a crime that we were taught lies. And I'm, trying to catch up and trying to learn, and we all are, like many of us are. And this is the sort of stuff that we need to see. I need to go back to my TYA years and see this stuff. So
it's amazing when these two shows were toured. It was amazing how many teachers and educators had no idea about Africville. And they would present the play. They say, boys and girls, play by Bo Dixon, from here to Africville. And it was like, no, it's Africville. Like, they just had no idea. It blew my mind.
I just think about like the fascinating conversation afterwards when you sort of go back through your history textbook and go like, where is this, right? Like, where is this story? It's not here.
I remember in 7th and 8th grade, there was like 3 or 4 chapters on like the fur trade, and or like the fille de roi was like, oh, these extravagant white women coming over, da 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 da, and then there was like a tiny sub chapter of Métis, and that's about it, and like nothing else. And I went to Catholic grade school and high school too, so that was a whole that's another tier. But yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
I think it's also like really cool just on the conversation of um like speaking about words and the effect of words and like how to educate kids on those, especially in a time right now where it's like, school boards are like trying to like censor things. It's like teachers don't have a way to bring that stuff up. So I think it's awesome to have like those kinds of provocative words coming in through the channel of like a theater show and like needing to talk about it there. Because like you have kids these days who like don't know the history of like the N word and who like say it. And it's like, how does a teacher address that when it's not nowhere in the curriculum? So I think it's really, really powerful as like a tool of education, actually.
Yes. And I would like to, doing this reading, as I'm sitting listening to you guys, it's like, I want to reach out to teachers and educators and try to coordinate, solicit these plays in a way that either get 4 actors and it's done online and the kids, the teacher dials in and we're going to give a history lesson, and it keeps them educated, but also, entertained, because we all know, and this is why I started writing and taking it to schools, is we know for a fact if we are entertained, we are also informed, and that knowledge we absorb that, especially in our youth. It's just a great tool, and I'm really glad that I was approached by Quaranteam to do these 2 plays, because it's sort of revitalized my desire to use it as a teaching tool.
Yeah, I would love to see like this brought, like whether it's in person or like in our time, like in quarantine done like via Zoom, like
Now, Quaranteam should do this.
so cool to see that brought to schools, like so cool.
It's so needed. I like, especially like right now when we don't know when TUIA will pick up again, like some sort of game plan for how to keep this going, I think it's so needed.
And that schools are hungry for this kind of stuff in their curriculum, right? Like they have to be. So yeah.
And as you know, I've already got my dibs in for.
Yes. Hey,
it's already pre-planned. Dita and Danish are going to find out why.
But from here to Africville, I'm very excited, Jeanette. Yeah. But even like from here to Africville, like if there was,
yep,
it would only have to be maybe a $200 budget. I know kids kind of get annoyed of like, hey, face in a box, but because there's maybe there's a bit more performative, staging, and taking advantage of cheap Netflix sort of like, how can From Here to Africville become a low budget, quote unquote, film for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about sort of the keeping kids, young audiences engaged via Zoom, and some of the sort of ideas that came up were like doing like little interactive sort of games, almost like just as like an example. One of the things that I thought was kind of cool is see how many times you can spot like a particular prop pop up in different screens, right? Just to sort of like keep kids focused. The moment you make it sort of like competitive or interactive, they sort of want to like follow that. So it's like, oh, this cross or whatever it is that like pops up, it'll pop up, how many times does it pop up through the show? Just like little ways like that to keep it like engaging.
Yeah, or and as well, each scene, it goes black. The facilitator is like, "So, boys and girls, what's happening?" Like we're in
Hmm.
Africville, and so, what do you think's going to happen next? And it could
Yes.
almost be like a choose your own adventure, like
Yeah.
Or like break it up episodically in a way, like, and it's like almost like get them to think that they're binge watching a
yes,
series almost, but it's a play, and you break it up in different acts and go previously on.
That's
yes,
cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, the dramaturgical virtual brain is
yeah.
thrilling. Yeah.
Okay, you guys are all hired. Jeanette,
Even like
I got,
You've
I
said
got
it. You can't take it back now.
$5.
training, he could like be punching, and people's screens can be leaving as he's punching, like he's punching down the screen, or like.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on a roll now. My brain's like, what?
This is not like a brainstorming session.
Well, yeah, it's so true because I mean, boxing alone, right? Like the history of pugilism, and George Dixon being the first black boxer, and he also invented shadow boxing, which is, what we all see in the movies, boxers battling with their silhouette. So I mean, yeah, as far as episodic, like, it could last a more than one semester, a few weeks. You could sort of elongate these sessions.
And is
Yeah,
it
I mean,
interesting that you're boxing within a box?
Oh.
Sorry, the dramaturge in me is like, ooh.
I'm gonna patent these ideas so you guys don't like run away with it.
oh, that's great. Well, awesome. Well, we've got some food for thought, and definitely it sounds like there's like next steps, things in the works.
Actually, I did have a question for you, Bo. You said, did this tour the early 2000s? Like, and how long did these plays tour? Did they tour together? Like, what was the performance history?
So I think From Here to Africville, I wrote first in 2006, and we toured that for 2 years. So when I say years, it was literally, see, back then, uh, it started out as, I could independently approach the schools. I have a play that can coincide with your curriculum for Black History Month. So then I have school boards calling me, and I have to cram 40 performances in 1 month, heaven forbid if it goes past Black History Month. Whereas nowadays, I don't mean to look into the future, but I think Black History Month is going to be every day, all the time, but with the expenditure, I mean, the schools can't finance it. But anyway, 14 years ago, wow, 2006, Jesus, there was money for it. And so I would tour it. I have a theater company, Firebrand Theater, and I would take the play. How many actors are there? I think I had 3 actors. We'd hop in a van with some props and do 2 shows a day, sometimes 3 shows. And then the following year, I wrote Once a Flame, and that was a 2-hander. So I had a Black female actress and a white actor who played all the other parts. And that was very useful. And again, I had designed it specifically. It's like, okay, well, only so many actors can fit in a van, and I only have so much of a budget. So let me write a 2-hander. And the students found that very enjoyable, seeing one actor play many faces. And so then I toured that for a couple of years. Then the province of Quebec commissioned me to tour it to Quebec, and so I hired a translator. And it was interesting. During the Q&A, the French actor he told me this happened more than once. Some teachers, all of them male, would argue back in front of the kids uh, claiming there was no slavery in Canada. And so while they're doing a Q&A, the French actor is, arguing with some of the teachers in French while the kids are sitting there and just arguing about slavery in Canada being non-existent. It was unbelievable. And this actor was emotionally effed up about it, because he would come home from the tour and he would, the evaluation sheets, he was heartbroken because he's from Quebec, and these teachers are not believing that there was racism. I mean, it just blows my mind, even talking about it out loud. It's just, anywho, so, but, they have a statue of Marie Joseph in Old Montreal. She was wrongly accused. To this day, we don't know if she did it. I believe she did, because it's quite easy. It's a fact that she had a lover. I think what happened was her lover had a plan. He took off on her, and it was beneath her. It was beneath her. She knew she was going to get hanged. There was no way out of it, but it was beneath her to drag anyone else into it. But yeah, the other plays that I've written 4 or 5 other one-act plays, and toured them to schools. But as each year goes by, Jillian, there's just no budget in it for the schools. It's very difficult to tour plays independently, let alone with someone else soliciting your work. They just don't have the money.
Yeah, I almost want to see it like, like Shakespeare in action, like how actors go in, and it's similar to like Shakespeare's not meant to be read and studied, it's meant to be performed, and having that troupe go in and sort of like use that as a tool to teach kids like this. I feel like this in so many realms, like it could cover a history lesson, it could cover drama, it could cover like just so many different facets. But again, yeah, it would be, gathering a team, getting funding for the team, and getting all school boards on board.
Yeah, and what I think is the most tangible and the most worthwhile expenditure, I think, is if I, the playwright, go to the school, and I've done it a couple of times with my one-man show, Beneath Spring Hill. I went to some schools in Saskatchewan, and I would assign some of the kids, okay, you're going to play this character, you'll play this character, and involve the kids, the students, and have them do scenes, then mix it up and stuff like that. There was one school in Regina, which was fascinating. Once Aflame, they had 8 different, they had 4 different Marie Josephs. So they had different, they had more than one actor playing the same character. And that was really interesting, because it instilled this element of competition, but also just you're seeing the same character just with different personalities, and sort of the decisions, the acting choices that these amateur actors who are students that they would make. And it actually it was quite informative for me, the playwright, to see this. I've actually learned a lot.
I mean, I know that's the kind of experience you walk away from as like a young elementary school kid, going like, huh, maybe I want to go into theater.
Yeah.
I'm sure many were inspired.
Well, and as a person of color, and this hits a real soft spot for me. It's as a person of color, being in a predominantly white classroom, like growing up in Central Ontario, the idea of me getting into theater was unheard of. It didn't, like, music maybe, but Shakespeare, well, there's no roles for me. How a person of color, there's no place for me here. This is all so it's unreachable. I have no, it's a disconnect that I have no relation to. So, you know, and when I was promoting these shows and calling up schools, this is very disheartening. Teachers would say, well, no, we don't really need a play about Africville or Once a Flame. We have very few people of color. We have very few students of color in our schools. But it's like, no, that's the point. That's the point. You know, like, so there's two sides to it. It's like, but for that one child of color, brown, black, even Asian, for the one that is there surrounded by their white peers, that kid's going to walk away. You know, I think someone else said it. It's like, I could really get into theater. Or it's like, I could really present myself as some sort of an entertainer. I mean, it opens the options. It just opens so many doors. But also, you know, on the other side, it's like, well, this is where I want to perform my work, where there's very few, you know, even if there's a classroom of just white kids, yes, you should be getting me in there. Anywho, don't get me started.
No, absolutely. Yeah, this is great.
Start and don't stop.
Yeah.
But and that's a, you know, that's a problem. It's still, this is the largest city in Canada, and we still have problems finding actors of color. We still have problems finding diversity on stage. And it is important, and knowing this, it is integral more than ever to do outreach, youth outreach, or we're going to be like churches. Theater is going to be like churches, where it's like you don't see anyone under the age of 70 sitting in the pews. It's going to be a dying career, because, well, the kids are going to feel a disconnect. There was no, what is the relation, you know? And so the same thing with Africville and stuff like that. Like Ruthie, Sarah, and I, when we did The Color Purple in Halifax, probably a lot of people in the audience, have no idea about Africville, and they live right around the corner from it. B, it's their first time being in a theater, if they're a person of color, because they have been never given that encouragement. Come and see theater. To them, it's to people of, you know, ethnic diversity, the thought of going to a theater, well, it's like, well, it has nothing to do with me. I have no connection. And so that I feel that's the same way with today's youth. They don't feel connected to theater.
If I can add on to that, when I was younger, I really wanted to be an actor. Like stage or theater, didn't matter, but I felt that I could get somewhere else, like in film, because that's the biggest representation you saw of a Black person. When I came to Sudbury for grade 7, I went to go see a couple plays at STC or Theatre Cambrian or whatever, and all I saw were a basic whitewash cast of a generic show, and I'm like, I started second guessing myself, because I'm like, is this really for me? Can I find anything for me? And then when I went to high school, I was in grade 9, and Alessandro walks up to my teacher and asks if she has any students of color that can help out with the show. And that was my first introduction to theater. And I really felt like, okay, there's something here. I can do this. There's a future for me in this. And that's when I really began to push. And I've met so many wonderful people. I've met all of Quaranteam. I've met Stefan. I've met Ruthie. I've met Jake. I've met so many people. And they're really encouraging me and pushing me. And I think that if those kids can just get that one chance, that one connection to theater or any creative art form, it can change their life forever. So I just wanted to share that because that's what happened for me, and I'm very grateful for that.
If I can just quickly to that, it's it's so the words, it's so hard to hear that, because that's what theater is for me. That's the whole reason I'm here, is I got that as a child. So this is so, yeah, these stories are just so important to keep pumping out, and hearing that, it's heartbreaking but also encouraging, because we're here doing this right now, and hopefully moving forward, this is, yeah, it just needs to be so much more a part of our theater, so much more of a part of our theater for young people.
I think it's so important just in talking too about, like not taking kids and youth for granted. Like quite often they're like way smarter than the generation now. And something that's lovely about theater and being, graduated now and being kind of integrated into the industry and paving my own path too, and kids being really important to me. Like theater has a way of accessing emotions and vulnerable sides of yourself that like the world we live in shuns us away from or doesn't allow us to open up that way anymore. And I think more than ever, like teaching things like this, or taking texts or stories from our past and putting them in performance, like not only is it being literally put on stage for folks to see, but it's doing it on that line of encouraging extra expression or like vulnerability or like being uncomfortable or being comfortable, like um just with the world being so digitalized now too, and quite literally we are now packed into digital boxes. It's like I fear that any progress we were making towards kids and youth, allowing their voice to be heard and feeling comfortable with themselves, and the open dialogue of mental health. um, I fear that after the pandemic kind of starts relaxing, um, there's going to be that anxiety to want to shut up again and close things in. And I think that's where we come in to explode things out more than ever, because like being theater makers, we know like every day of our lives we choose to kind of be extra expressive, and we have safe rooms and safe people to do that. And I think that's just like a life quality that every person can feel encouraged to do. Especially every one of us coming out of the pandemic, like that is something that we all share. We will all share this part of history, and I think using that as a launching pad of bringing stories like this in in a setting of theater and acting and vulnerability and expression, I think that's the it's a big step, but that's the step that all ages are going to need, but especially the generation to come, because they are going to have a lot of stuff to pick up, like on every on every realm. um so I'd like to think people like us and our within the community of quarantine readers, within the community of at large, like us getting this conversation and like balls rolling to explode. Yeah, like let's do it.
Yeah, it's well said. Thank
And
you.
talk. Yeah. Hmm.
I want to say thank you to everyone. I mean, what a great way to spend the afternoon. And it's the beginning of something, it's not like it ended. It's the beginning, and that's pretty exciting. Thank you, Bo, for your
Yeah, thank you, guys. You're all so wonderful and so intelligent, and I'm yeah. This has been so illuminating, and I feel revived, especially for these two plays. And like Jillian said, like my dramaturgical mind's like, oh, all these possibilities. So thank you so much for committing to the work and having those conversations.
thank you so much, Bo. These were wonderful plays, and thank you everybody for reading. You did wonderful work today, and it was a very enlightening discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your
Thanks,
weekend, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Ciao. Thank you.
Bye.